A beautiful and a pleasant morning to one and all. Let us begin the day with an inspirational thought. A day without prayer is a day without blessings, and a life without prayer is life without power. With this quote, we proceed further. We have with us two facilitators from Atman Academy, Ms. Shreyu Jadhav and Ms. Swapnil Chinchanikar, who have translated the Samantha program in Marathi and Hindi. They will be chanting the shlokas for us.
Thank you. Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada.
गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरा गुरुर् साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः.
Thank you.
Namaste.
I request the BTTC team, technical team, to play the BTTC prayer.
ॐ सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामया सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुर्भवेत् असतो मा सद्गमया तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमया मृत्योर्मा अमृतं गमया. ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः.
Please play the national anthem.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल बंग विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्छल जलधि तरंग तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मागे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे.
Before I begin to read the comprehensive report for the 6-day international workshop series, I request Manjushri ma'am to introduce Ms. Sharayu Jadhav and Ms. Swapnil Chinchanikar.
Very, very good morning to all of you. And since today we had our rehearsals for the 26th of Jan online event that we are having, our children were occupied. So I said, what would be a good option for the prayer? So I said, let me get two of the Nightingales of school. Both are very good singers. And apart from which, their main activity at school is Sharayu is the Marathi facilitator. Can I also have Sharayu on the spotlight? Let me also add her in the spotlight. That's Sharayu. Sharayu is the Marathi facilitator at Atman Academy. and Swapnil is the Hindi facilitator at Atman Academy, and they have been journeying with us for a very long time. What I want you to all of you to know is that they are the people behind the translation of the Marathi and the Hindi books. And I was in fact mentioning to Swapnil yesterday. Thank you, Rajeshri, and thank you all of you. I was mentioning to Swapnil yesterday. I said, Swapnil, you must watch the recording. She was busy taking classes in school. I said, you must watch Ilaji's recording because she has actually mentioned that ये अद्भुत ये फट 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 जिसने किसने किया है वो अच्छा किया है. So it was a delight. For the last 2 years they have been working relentlessly. They've already started work in full earnest on level 2 translations, and they've been working relentlessly on this entire project. I'd just like both of them to share with you what it has meant for them. You all have heard enough about Samantha, but I just thought it would be really worth listening to what the translation process has done to both of them as people, as teachers, as facilitators. So we'd like you to go. Sharayu, would you like to start?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Good morning, all. मैं शरयू जाधव. मैं आत्मन एकेडमी में लर्निंग फैसिलिटेटर हूँ मराठी सब्जेक्ट के लिए. उनको हेल्प करती हूँ मराठी सीखने में. तो महाराष्ट्र स्टेट के लिए जब ये ऑफर मुझे आया मैम से कि समानता का कार्यक्रम है वो करना है, तो शुरू में मुझे ये पता ही नहीं था कि क्या हम करने वाले हैं. जैसे ही वो सब जो भी करना था वो काम जो हमारे हाथ में आया, इसके साथ जो लर्निंग प्रोसेस हमारी हुई है वो बहुत वंडरफुल हो गई. क्योंकि ऐसे हुआ कि हर एक लेसन प्लान करते हुए, हर एक लेसन करते हुए, हर एक बुक करते हुए उसमें जो छोटी छोटी चीजें हैं, तो शुरू में मुझे मैम ने बताया था कि आपको ना ऐसे करना है कि आपको वो 3 से 4 से 5 साल के बच्चे जो है उनको ध्यान में रखना है. तो बहुत एरर ट्रायल ऐसे कर 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 करके हमारी पिकनिक गई थी आत्मन की. वहां पे छोटू 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 से बच्चों की पिकनिक आई थी. एंड देन मैंने उनको देखा, मंजुश्री मैम को, स्वप्निल को, और वो दोनों ने मुझे देखा और बोला, शरयू इनके लिए करना है, सो स्वीट, कितनी छान. और हमने वो काम शुरू कर दिया. ये प्रोसेस बहुत लंबी थी, लेकिन इसमें मैंने जो सीखा है वो मैं कभी नहीं भूल सकती. हम जिन बच्चों के साथ काम कर रहे हैं वो तो हम मतलब ऐसे ले रहे हैं कि हम हर रोज नया सीख रहे हैं, हर रोज नया कुछ कर रहे हैं. लेकिन ये काम करने से ये पता चला कि अपने सिर पे जो हाथ है ईश्वर का, और जो भावनाएं हमारे मन में है, उन भावनाओं को और निखारने की ये एक कुदरत ने हमें एक अनोखा ऐसा मौका दिया था. और जो हमने किया, और उसके बाद हमें पता चला कि अरे बच्चों का विश्व जो है वो सबसे सुंदर है. उनके विश्व में कोई टेढ़े आड़े ऐसे वैसे रास्ते है ही नहीं. और अगर इन उनके आयु में और इन वर्षों में अगर उनके ऊपर सोशल एंड इमोशनल लर्निंग के बारे में कुछ हुआ तो डेफिनेटली वो काम करने वाला है. क्योंकि जब मैंने वो मेरे बच्चों के साथ किया, मेरे मतलब मेरे आत्मन के बच्चों के साथ, तब जो रिजल्ट आए वो बहुत ही अद्भुत थे, अद्भुत डेजी की तरह. और एक एक लेसन, एक एक बुक इतना सुंदर है, इतना सुंदर है. वो पूरे दिन उन बुक्स के साथ हम जिए हैं. जिंदगी एक अलग नजरिए से, एक अलग तरीके से जीना सीखे. कभी कभी हम गुस्सा होते हैं, कभी कभी ये होता है नहीं नहीं नहीं, लेकिन इससे ये चिड़चिड़ापन ना पूरी तरह से निकल गया. अभी किसी भी बात से गुस्सा नहीं आता, किसी भी बात से फ्रस्ट्रेशन नहीं आता. ये नहीं कर पाएंगे ऐसे नहीं लगता है, क्योंकि वो डियागो ने करके दिखाया, क्योंकि वो लिची ने करके दिखाया. तो ये सब बातें जो है वो हमने अपने जीवन में भी सीखी, और अब ये देते हुए बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है. मराठी में एक कहावत है कि देणाऱ्याने देत जावे, घेणाऱ्याने घेत जावे, घेता घेता एक दिवस देणाऱ्याचे हात घ्यावे. इसका मतलब ऐसे है कि देना है, जो झोली में वो अर्पण करना है. दूसरों ने जब ये लेना तो उसके साथ उसकी वो देने की वृत्ति भी लेनी है. वो हमने सीखा इस समानता से. बहुत कुछ बातें हैं, लेकिन ये कम वक्त है, कभी मिलेंगे तो और बहुत सारी बातें करेंगे. सो बहुत बहुत ग्रेटफुल महसूस कर रही हूँ. थैंक यू फॉर समंता एंड मंजुश्री मैम.
Thank you so much, Sharayu. Thank you so much. Swapnil?
यस मैम. गुड मॉर्निंग टू वन एंड ऑल. मैं स्वप्निल चिंचणीकर. मैं आत्मन एकेडमी में हिंदी सब्जेक्ट में बच्चों को हेल्प करती हूँ.
स्वप्निल, तुम्हारी आवाज बड़ी सॉफ्ट आ रही है थोड़ा. हाँ, just keep the microphone close by.
मुझे याद है 2 साल पहले, मंजूषा मैम आप ठीक हैं?
हाँ बिल्कुल बिल्कुल बढ़िया।
आपने जब हमसे बात की थी कि ये ऐसा प्रोग्राम है, हमें ये काम करना है, तो मेरे लिए तो ये पहली बार था, ट्रांसलेशन ये काम ही पहली बार था। तो ठीक है, काम लिया हाथ में। हम मंजूश्री मैम को किसी भी सूरत में ना नहीं बोल सकते। तो शुरू किया। ध्यान इसी में था कि ट्रांसलेशन करेक्ट हो रहा है कि नहीं हो रहा है। इस विषय में ध्यान नहीं था कि सब्जेक्ट क्या है और हम करने क्या जा रहे हैं। पर जैसे एक बुक ट्रांसलेट हुई, उसके एरर्स सब ठीक किए, फिर उसके लेसन प्लान किए, तब समझ में आया कि इतने दिन से जो हम सिर्फ टर्म सुन रहे हैं, इवन हमारे स्कूल का प्रिंसिपल भी है सोशल इमोशनल लर्निंग, पर एक्चुअल क्या होता है और इतने छोटे बच्चों से कैसे डील करना है, ये इन बुक्स ने और इन लेसन प्लान्स ने सिखाया। क्योंकि हमारे स्कूल में हम लोग 5th से ऊपर के बच्चों को सिखाते हैं, तो इतने छोटे से बच्चों से हमारा पाला नहीं पड़ता। तो इन बच्चों के लिए टर्म्स क्या होने चाहिए, इनके लिए लेसन प्लान्स क्या होने चाहिए, रिसोर्सेज कैसे होने चाहिए, ये इन बुक्स के थ्रू पता चला। और यकीन मानिए, अगर इन लेसन प्लान्स को जैसा का वैसा फॉलो किया जाए स्टेप बाय स्टेप, तो ये ऑब्जेक्टिव जो आपका है वो कंप्लीट हुए बिना रहेगा नहीं। ये सोशल इमोशनल लर्निंग प्रोग्राम के ट्रांसलेशन करते करते हम ही इतने इमोशनली इससे जुड़ गए हैं कि पर्सनालिटी डेवलपमेंट के लिए हमें कहीं जाने की जरूरत नहीं है। चेंजेस हमारे घर के लोग भी बता सकते हैं और स्कूल के लोग भी बता सकते हैं कि हाँ, इनमें चेंजेस आए हैं, चीजों को समझना सीख गए हैं, लोगों का नजरिया देखना सीख गए हैं। इतने दिनों में आपने ये सब टर्म सुने होंगे, मूड मीटर्स है या मूड मीटर है या टेक अ ब्रेक मेकअप प्लान। मुझे तो सबसे बढ़िया लगा था ये टेक अ ब्रेक मेकअप प्लान। हम बच्चों को बोलते हैं थोड़ा सोच के बोला करो, थोड़ा रुक के बोलो, पर वो नहीं समझते। लेकिन जब तक ये टर्म एक यूज किया, टेक अ ब्रेक मेकअप प्लान, मतलब रुकना है, सोचना है, प्लान बनाना है और उसको एग्जीक्यूट करना है। तो ये सब चीजें जो है वो बच्चों की भाषा में समझाने वाली जो चीजें हैं, ये बहुत ही अच्छी हैं। इसकी बेली बेली बड़ी जो एक था, या शेड्स ऑफ ब्राउन, आपने वो भी मंजूषी मैम से सुना होगा। तो ये सारी चीजें वो अंदर से ना हिला के रख देती हैं। है तो बच्चों की बुक्स, लेकिन हम भी बहुत कुछ उससे सीख रहे हैं। लेसन प्लान अगर आपने देखे होंगे, पढ़े होंगे, तो सच में मजेदार हैं। बुक्स भी पढ़ी होंगी तो बहुत ही मजेदार हैं, प्लीज पढ़िएगा। थैंक यू लेस्ली के लिए कि उन्होंने ऐसा प्रोग्राम बनाया, और थैंक्स मंजूश्री मैम की हमें इससे जोड़ा, जो एक बहुत अच्छी चीज सीखने मिली, और जी रहे हैं और आगे भी जिएंगे।
थैंक यू सो मच स्वप्निल एंड शरयू। और इनकी जर्नी अभी भी चल रही है, हम सब मिलके सीख रहे हैं, हमें मजा आता है। आफ्टर स्कूल मैं आपको ये बताना चाहूंगी कि ये आफ्टर स्कूल सब काम करते हैं, स्कूल के किसी भी काम को कम करके ये नहीं किया जाता। आफ्टर स्कूल 2 बजे 1 बजे रात को बैठ के हम मीटिंग्स भी करते हैं, हमने 1 बजे रात को मैसेजेस भी भेजे हैं एक दूसरे को। लेकिन ये बहुत मजा आया है हम सबको, और अब और आ ही रहा है, बिकॉज अब लेवल 2 हाथ ले लिया है ट्रांसलेशन के लिए। और मुझे मालूम है आज भी जब स्वप्निल और शरयू लेवल 1 के पहले पहले लेसन और पहले पहले बुक्स देते हैं, तो कहते हैं कि मंजूश्री एक्चुअली ना हमको वो फिर से करना पसंद करेंगे हम, बिकॉज अब पता चल रहा है, क्योंकि प्रगत हो गए हैं ना, वी डेवलप्ड, सो अब पता चल रहा है कि अरे वो वाले लेसन प्लान्स और कितने इम्प्रूव कर सकते हैं हम। लेकिन ये सब जर्नी है। सो थैंक यू सो मच शरयू एंड स्वप्निल, आपके हाउस के बच्चे आपकी वेट कर रहे हैं, आई कैन अंडरस्टैंड। दैट्स व्हाई आई hushed and hurried for you to come here first, and both of you are mentors of the same house. You were saying something स्वप्निल, आप कुछ कह रहे थे?
हाँ, मैं एक बात बोलना भूल गई मंजूश्री मैम की, बार बार ये लगा कि ये हमारे समय में होता तो क्या बात होती, और कुछ ही तैयार हो जाते शायद। है अच्छे ही है, सभ्य नागरिक है, लेकिन शायद
और
शायद कुछ और तैयार हो जाते।
सही बात है, बहुत सही बात है। थैंक यू सो मच
Thank
लेडीज,
you, ma'am.
एंड लुक फॉरवर्ड टू सी यू लेटर ऑन। थैंक यू
Thank you,
लुक्ना,
ma'am.
ओवर टू यू।
Welcome, ma'am. I, Dr. Lubna Mansoori, take this opportunity to present a comprehensive report on the 6-day online international workshop series organized by Samantha Education in association with KC College and BTT College, constituent colleges of HSNC University, Mumbai, and Atman Academy on the broad theme Reimagining Early Years Education, which was indeed a fruitful, enriching, insightful, and participative. Before I give the glimpses of all the 5 days, themes, and topics, I would like to mention that all the sessions began with shlokas chanted by the Atman Academy students, followed by BTTC prayer and the national anthem. After every session, there was a lot of deliberations. Participants shared their experiences and inquired about the tips and strategies to include for social and emotional learning in their classrooms. All the technical sessions were moderated by Miss Manjushri Patil and Miss Manvi Behel. The BTTC faculty were also a part of this particular moderation. Day one, the theme was repurposing the early years education. The program trottled up with the inaugural function. Dr. Hiranandani, Provost, HSNC University, was the chief guest, and Dr. Hemlata Bagla, Dean of HSNC University, was the guest of honor. The session began with Dr. Bhagwan Balani, principal of Bombay Teachers Training College, speaking on the social and emotional learning and considering it important because school subjects are taught very mechanically and human component are missing. In spite of having excellent academic record, children fail as far as social platform is concerned. Dr. Niranjan Hiranandani gave an exemplary speech. Sir emphasized the importance of ethics in education. If not for ethics, world wars would take place. He highlighted on the value of empathy and the importance of emotional quotient and understand what is missing in education and add it with technical education. He focused on the emotional educational revolution to create a change pattern in terms of learning so that we can be proud of our children who will be the nation builders. Dr. Hemlata Bagla, Dean of HSNC University, addressed the session as she quoted that we must dream of the world where every child has the right to be given a foundation of values. Dr. Bagla also pointed out that as teachers, we are the queens of our class and we can bring a lot to the class and create ripples in the ocean of education. The technical session 1 and 2 was on the topic, what's the missing element in and how does it connect to the SGDs? The resource person was Leslie Edwin, a human rights advocate and education activist. Dr. Leslie began by talking about the systems and need to change and need to bring radical changes in it. She pointed out that we are robotically programmed to think discriminately. Each and every one of us are of equal value. Gender equality and empathy should be instilled in our children. The critical thing that Leslie learned from the rape cases was not about gender, but it's about a mindset. She said that the lack of education has led to discriminatory mindset. She quoted Nelson Mandela, education is the most important weapon. We can change the world. Technical session 3 focused on the topic, the environmentalist perspective to social and emotional learning. The resource person was Shranaya Nayak, a journalist, and Rajaraman, student of Adivasi movements, expressed that Adivasi worldview is not really compartmentalized and everything is a flowing circle, not a hierarchy. She read about a book, I Love My Planet. She said that this is more of westernized view, but they would share the Adivasi point of view. Mr. Rajan said that he has learned a lot from Adivasis who worked hard against mining companies who are tired to take away their land, who are trying to take away their land. Childhood is seen as a transition state of maturity. There are multiplicities of childhoods across the world. The political and psychological aspects of childhood need to be connected to social emotional learning. Day 2, and the theme was understanding the self. The topic for the session was deep diving into the self. The resource person for the session was Manjushri Patil, Founder Director, Atman Academy, and Country Director, Samantha Education India. Miss Patil, who struck a chord with an exciting game, Chalo Ek Mazedar Story Banate Hai. A list of professions were mentioned. The audience had to make characters out of those professions and use them in a self-made story. Participants were asked to evaluate the thinking behind the spontaneous story creation. And the story concluded about the beliefs about the social roles, behaviors, gender roles, and stereotypical that now needs to change and face of emotional awareness. The removal of this adapted stigma should shun down. As budding teachers, it's very important for us to remove the barriers of gender. Simple learning that we take back is the beliefs about gender, race, religion, culture are not born, but they are ingrained in us by observing and learning from other behaviors. In the second technical session, Dr. Swati Popat Watts, founder, president of Early Childhood Association India, and president and founder director of Poddar Jumbo Kids, was a resource person, and she spoke on the topic, A Teacher's Contribution to an Social Emotional Classroom. Dr. Swati enlightened us on how teachers should contribute to the SEL. Dr. Swati began with a strange phenomena that why do women mainly exist in the teaching profession? The answer that teachers are not paid well. The value of teachers have been undermined. She strongly believed in the principle of teach what you preach. She threw light upon a very major aspect of a general practice of making children say thank you and sorry, but we tend to forget that children possess something called a mirror neurons. Children practice as they observe. As teachers, we are in the position to facilitate our students' emotion, guide the emotion, show them a way to vent or channelize their emotions rather than telling them to control their emotions. Dr. Swati highlighted that the content we use for little children should be ethical and convey rightful emotions. Negative emotions in songs will convey destructive meanings. Songs like Ringa Ringa Roses were made during a plague that killed many people, and the song is used as a fun element now. We as teachers should not pass on any wrong or negative emotions. Technical session 3 and the topic accepting self. The resource person was Mrs. Sonali Kulkarni, a well-known actress and celebrity. Manjushri Patil invited Sonali Kulkarni to read the book Me, Myself and I, and she thanked the writers as the book was very relatable and easy to connect. Mrs. Kulkarni shared her views on the social and emotional learning for children, where she pointed out that kids need to get approval from teachers. Therefore, teachers play a very important role. She also mentioned that I like that self which is guilt-free. People should admire individuals for their work, so it should begin from home. We need to accept ourselves, then the world will accept us. We should come out of the rigidity where we have a lot of excuses. The session further went on to a discussion and interaction with the participants on pertinent questions. Day 3, the theme was Understanding Emotional Intelligence, and the resource person was Miss Amber Paulson, Director of Education, Think Equal USA. Ms. Paulson gave clarity on the meaning of IQ and EQ. She went on to explain the relationship between IQ and EQ as both are dependent on each other. She stressed on how researchers have come up to a finding that EQ is more important than what we had thought in earlier times. EQ is the productivity and mental well-being of a person, which is very important. Ms. Paulson stated about a study done in 2010 that EQ affects college teachers' academic performance and social interactions together. EQ has been a significant factor in the quality of social interaction with peers. IQ does not play a role in college students' social life. The second technical session was on the topic emotional intelligence and early childhood of a child. The expert for the day was Dr. Kavita Arora, a child and adolescent psychiatrist and co-founder of Children First. She started by quoting, "Early childhood years are wonderful and magical years." She moved on by narrating a story on river and drowning kids. The story explained how we all keep looking at the problems and stand there helpless while we should be looking at the root cause of the problems and find solutions to tackle them. She led us to think a paradox, diversity versus expectations and conformation to similarity. She carried on the session with enlightening us on the science and policy gap. The focus on early childhood has been on physical, academic, readiness, and cognition. She also stated that the ability to bounce back and carry on is the need of the hour. She emphasized that it is very important to make the child feel heard, and respected. The last session of the day was on the topic Stronger Communities Through Emotional Intelligence, and the resource person was Ms. Rajshri Deshpande. The session began by reading a book titled Rainbows in Windows. Ms. Deshpande accentuated on her journey in the field of cinema. She learned about the hardships of women in the society through reading and working in films. She highlighted on the casual attitude towards these issues and how we fail to act upon them. She shared that her first project was providing water irrigation in a small village and how she realized that only this does not suffice what's needed. Sustainable development is the answer to this journey, which resulted in giving birth to Nabangam Foundation. Rajshri Deshpande recalled her mother's words about education and its importance for girls. The takeaway from this session was we need to balance everything and accept all the facts, but most importantly, we need to act. Day 4, the theme was social emotional learning, 25 learning outcomes, and more. The resource person was Dr. Leena Pujari, Associate Professor and Head, Department of Sociology, KC College, and the topic was sex, sexuality, and gender. In views of Dr. Pujari, when students come to college, they are burdened with casteism, communalism, and many other baggages. They are students with gender non-binary persons, and we must not pass comments or remarks that traumatizes them. One of the biggest influence on students is social media. Ma'am revisited ideas about sex, gender, and sexuality. Gender identity, she spoke about gender identity and told us about the differences between them. She spoke about heteronormative regime, where we teach children to be masculine and feminine in families, schools, public transport, laws, public toilet. Also, what problematized this distinction of male and female. There are presence of individuals with intersex variations. She spoke about transgender, Turner syndrome. She gave a few case studies, especially women who have to face discrimination in the field of sports. She concluded that we need to stop this perspective of one shoe size fits all and use gender neutral terms. The topic for the second session was the Samantha program, and the speaker was Ms. Manjushri Patil. She displayed a heart full of 25 learning outcomes and further explained the meaning of learning outcomes. There's no right and wrong behavior. Behaviors are appropriate and inappropriate. We should expose the children to moral and ethical values, but it is different to social emotional learning. She further informed us that the content of Samantha education is obtained from Healthy Minds at University of Wisconsin Medicine. Mood meter helps a lot to understand that we have to be aware of emotions and plot it on the mood meter, that is ruler program. The lesson is done by conversation in sitting in circles. She gave us small examples on how we can be more inclusive and make them confident in themselves. The themes will lead to better connections in them. The course of action and how to prepare resources was kept in front of the audience, and it was talked about in detail. Technical session 3 topic the topic was power of narratives, and we had with us a special guest speaker, Miss Ela Arun, lively, bold, and beautiful. Ela Arun read a book in Hindi titled Abhut Desi, means amazing Desi. She narrated the story with a lot of actions and expressions. It was a delight to watch her read the book. She said that she loved the message behind the story and would definitely recommend it to her granddaughter. She opined that we should give confidence to a child to have a dream and to believe in herself. And she further added that all of you teachers, you need have great responsibility on our shoulders. A teacher has to be an actor, a parent. The teacher is next to God. Teachers should be fully equipped. She remembers one of her teachers because of her smile, her welcoming gesture. We need to focus on each and every student. Storytelling is the powerful tool to develop values, and especially values like empathy. Day 5 began with a panel discussion. The panelists belonged to different countries, and the theme was the Samantha program. Speaker 1, Ms. Prabha Deshpriya. She informed about how the Samvedi program started in 2017 in Sri Lanka. She told about so much of bureaucracy. In addition, the teachers are not well trained and getting through government officials and politicians seemed impossible. But currently, Samvedi has reached 600 schools and has trained 1,300 teachers. Initially, it was challenging because the demand was literacy and numeracy. We are looking at generational change. We hope that teachers and parents see the world differently. The mainstream idea is that teachers have more support from Samvedi. The second speaker was Ms. Sandhya Vasanti from Sri Lanka. She shared her first-hand experiences on how Samvedi helped her to improve her teaching and how it helped parents to understand the importance of social emotional learning. She told that through the book Amazing Daisy, the children could get the power of unity. If Samvedi lessons are done in practical way, it's one of the most effective. Speaker 3 was Ms. Sophie Patitsas from Australia. Ms. Sophie acquainted the participants about Federation University in Victoria, where she did a research on social emotional learning and how she collaborated with Ms. Leslie. She disclosed the unique ways in which the books were organized and how it was so easy to follow the teaching plans. She also told that the elements of program resonate well with the children. They don't use templates, but they use their own vision. Speaker 4, Kareen Pinder and Miss Swapna. Miss Kareen shared her experiences on teaching the book Me, Myself and I, and she informed about the positive benefits and the impact on the children. She also told how the children could think about their goals through Amazing Daisy book. She spoke about the mood mirror and how it works, especially in the morning. Speaker 5, Sandra Boots, Sandra from Africa. Miss Sandra expressed her love towards the book Think Equal, and some of her favorite books were related to emotions. She used mood meter to ease the highs and lows throughout the day. She told about the lessons in the books Me, Myself and I, and Amazing Daisy, where it helped the children to set new goals. Speaker 6, Ms. Yojna Shardul, she was from India, and she said that stories are used to boost the self-esteem and self-confidence of the children. She explained how Lara's story could make each student special and different and not to mock others based on their color and background. She also instilled the importance of parents and their efforts in their lives. The children expressed themselves about how they felt elated when they helped others. Same time, she learned a lot through mood meter and other activities in Samantha education. She also used songs, activities, and games to teach the lessons in Marathi using Samantha education. Children learned discipline, motivation, goal setting, and she wishes that other children should also receive similar education. Speaker 7, Miss Shiri Timogidri. She was trained with Miss Leslie Adwin, and in a few years, she hopes to make a difference. She told her story and how a Jewish family didn't discriminate her based on race and color. She faced a lot of harassment from police. Her schooling was done in her native language. Her principal in school identified her abilities and eventually she became a part of Think Equal. Now she is installing the lessons of equality where race and color doesn't matter. Justice, respect, non-discrimination, resilience makes a difference in life. Children use the lessons in their day-to-day life. Speaker 8, Miss Neo Pamela. She started by quoting the book Think Equal as a pilot study in 2017 in 23 schools. She had to deal with different types of children, from shy to expressive ones. The mood meter works well with hyperactive children like miracles. The children use their imagination. We don't talk about feelings and emotions, but parents give a lot of positive feedback about how child talks about empathy and compassion. It instills social emotional learning. The shy children were able to have conversations with other people. The children learned that they are one, respectful, and caring. She was thankful for the amazing journey of Think Equal. The program, if continued in the country, it would decrease the gender-based violence. After lunch, we had the last technical session on the topic inclusion, and the guest speaker was Rasul Pukut. He read a book, Diago's Great Idea. With a lot of expressions and actions, he said that the story tells us the idea of inclusion, idea of being kind. We are going through an uncertain time and we keep distance because we think for the others. The COVID times have taught us that if other person is safe, we are safe. God made us different, but we all are having same acts of kindness. Kindness need to be spread. You need to be rich in order to be kind. Miss Rasul Pukati shared his perspective on music. According to him, music is passion, music is life, music is memory. Each one of us is driven by music. Our sense of rhythm will change due to change in sounds of the surroundings. There's rhythm in everything, even in the passing train. Later on, he emphasized on the emotions and how important they are in his work life. He shared the experience about his emotional upheavals with a true life experience where his father's dead body was lying at home and he was in the studio trying to make emotions of joy. This is called emotional regulation. We refine emotions and give out finished products. Your personal emotions have to stay away in your profession. I would like to end the report by a quote. Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. I would also like to share one more quote, which I found it very beautiful. This is for all teachers. Teachers have three loves: love of learning, love of learners, and the love of bringing the first two loves together. I complete my report reading and I request Miss I request Dr. Leena Pujari to take over the next session. I would not call it as a session, but a feedback and the insights that the participants have gained through this 6-day rigorous program on social and emotional learning. Dr. Leena Pujari.
Thank you. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Lubna. Thank you for the very comprehensive report, and thank you for the beautiful quote. The quote that you ended with was indeed something that lifted my spirits. Welcome participants, and so lovely to see you. As Lubna said, this is not a session actually, but what I'm going to do is moderate the session. As I listened in to the report that was just presented by Lubna, one thing that came to my mind is, at the end of the 6-day, very enriching and engaging workshop on reimagining or repurposing early childhood education, one thing that was very clearly established was how important social and emotional learning is, especially in early childhood education, and what an important role educators, school teachers have to play in this. Something which I said, in my earlier session, and I'm going to reiterate that we understand that, when as I keep saying, I speak from my position, interaction with scores of students in the last 2 decades, primarily in my role as a convener of the gender SEL, and the kind of stories and experiences that they have shared with me. One thing that I've learned is, even though we engage in a process of unlearning in college, I think it is difficult. It takes time. And this is something which was also kind of underscored and emphasized by Dr. Kavita Arora. Much of the learning actually is happening in school. So, wish we didn't have to go through the process of unlearning at that late age. And if we could pick up some of these pearls of wisdom right in school, that would be just wonderful. And who better to do it than the school teachers? And of course, as we know, there are several influences at work. There is media, there is family, there is peer group. But I think as teachers and pedagogues, especially in school, you all play a very important role. The children are spending a lot of time in school and picking up several things. And if we have an environment that is conducive to this kind of social and emotional learning, an environment that values diversity, an environment that understands that all children are not the same, right? Children do not constitute a monolith. They are not a homogeneous group. So even as we try to train them in empathetic ways, in ways that are useful for their personality growth, we also need to understand that not every child is different. And we must learn to value diversity. We need to celebrate differences and not impose one kind of worldview because we think it is necessary for the child. And something that is very important, I think the 6-day workshop has taught all of us, is we need to turn the gaze inwards. Start looking at ourselves, reflect, introspect, keep asking yourself questions. Am I doing it the way it should be? Is this the way to do it? Mark your statements. Be mindful of what you're saying. Are you giving away your prejudices, your preconceived ideas? I think this is a process that we need to do all the time. This is not a process where the learning happens and then stops. This is a process that has to continue during our lifetime for all of us, okay? And more so, especially for pedagogues and educators. Having said that, I've always believed that sharing of experiences is a wonderful pedagogic tool in classrooms. I always tell my students that I want to listen to you. I never want any kind of session to become a kind of monologue. We want to listen to people. And that is what we are going to do now. I want some of you to as many as we can take to reflect on this 6 days workshop, provide some feedback. And if we could, in some ways, why not think about the ways in which you could reimagine education? At the end of 6 days, what do you think about the whole thing? And if given a chance, what are the significant takeaways that you take from this, from the 6 day workshop, from the 6 day sessions? And how could you possibly reimagine things in your own school? It'll be wonderful to have some of you speak on that. How do we do it, Manjushri? If you are there, anybody can just unmute and speak, or is there a kind of, you are muted, you are muted.
So the order we are following is, I think, the Chinmay Shishuvatika will begin,
Okay,
and then Zarina, and then the teachers of the Singhania school.
perfect.
So three of them.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we are open to anybody else sharing. Most welcome, because we'd like more voices from across
Absolutely.
the room. So
That is very important. Yes. So may I request the participants to begin?
Chinmay Shishuvatika.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you so much. Hari Om. Namaste, everyone. And Suprabhatam. Actually, I feel very privileged to be the part of this webinar, this 6 days webinar. And at the same time, I always feel very proud to be a teacher, and especially a preschool teacher. And this Samantha Education and Atman Academy have touched the very important part of child's life very effectively throughout this webinar by engaging us in various resource persons that could build our knowledge in this faculty that is very that is social and emotional. This part is very important part of in the child's growth in these initial ages. So first line, I liked it very much. That is education of the heart. Education of the head without education of the heart is no education at all, by Aristotle. And this session have proved this line. And many times what happened, we do have knowledge, whatever we have listened in throughout these 6 days. Many times we have that knowledge, but what happened that sometimes we are fail to provide this knowledge to our children, or something. I don't know what happened, but something we don't convey this to our students. And this is, I think, this is the churning, whatever we have with us, with the knowledge, and the churning should happen. And I thought that I got this opportunity to churn myself throughout these 6 days and take up the butter. And I think it is the time to spread all over in my children. So this is a very nice time for me.
Excellent. Very nice analogy.
Thank you. So I must say throughout this webinar, first thing is teacher should think on her thinking. That these lines also many times use think on thinking. So first of all, teacher have to work on ourselves before we enter in the world of very nice, that is very, I like to be with such young children, such young minds. But when we are with those young minds, we first have to be very prepared to go enter with all of them. So first plan your work, and then when we go to the world, work out your plan. So this is very important, and every teacher should follow this, I think. And this will make your ideas very easy to flow to the students. And here my some learning outcomes have come throughout your story sessions. I love the way many person here narrated the story, read the stories, and especially I like the way Manjushri ma'am and Ila Arun ma'am and Sonali ma'am, so many have read the stories and express themselves. What were your expressions, your body language? Like I, as a teacher, enjoyed your story sessions a lot. So think about the young minds, how they will enjoy this session. And I think for the growth of social and emotional things, this is very important part, because stories, children can learn more through stories. Emotional bonding, social learning, they learn socially so many things. And the values, what right now Leena ma'am said, that values also children learn more through these stories. So I like the most part that storytelling must be in preschool. That is the regular part, that should be regular part of this preschool area. And then that one topic I like the most, because if as a teacher I am a stereotypical, then I cannot make my children to think beyond. So first of all, I myself have to break this thought that stereotypical thinking needs to be changed. And we as a teacher can change it, because from others we cannot expect. But if we start from our level, because these children are very young, and I heard one line that let this inner nature in children be nurtured. Let the inner nature in children be nurtured and brought out in a serene environment. तो अगर हमें आगे की दुनिया, अगर हमें वो चेंज करना है, तो स्टार्टिंग हमें इन्हीं एज ग्रुप से करनी है. हम बड़े लोगों की सोच या फिर जो भी, अभी हमें लगता है कभी कभी कि हमें भी हमारी सोच को अगर चेंज करना है तो बहुत टाइम लगता है. We cannot change quick, but if we put our thoughts in this such young minds, then the world became very serene.
So beautiful.
And I like the mood meter very much. I like the most that aha moment for me, that is mood meter. As I think Swati Popat ma'am said about this, that we always say, how are you? So we always say, I'm fine, thank you. So always, and as we know, children also learn from us. We don't need to say them that you have to say, I am fine, thank you. As we say, they learn from ourselves, from ours only, how we behave. What about the other emotions that children are having with them? How they can express their other emotions? If they feel sad, if they feel angry, if they feel nervous, how they will express their emotions? I think this, I am going to use this mood meter from now onwards, because this is very helpful to nurture their minds to express your emotions. So I like the most. This is my aha moment for this session. Yes. And one more thing, that I adapt rather than I adopt. Yes, many rhymes, many stories are there. We use as they are, as it is there. But we don't understand the social impact, emotional impact, what children are getting from that. We don't understand these things. We don't even look at those things. We don't even think over at it. But we need, as a teacher, we need to think over it. What the impact, the stories, that rhymes are giving to my young children that has to be understand. And so I like to adapt rather than adopt.
Thank you
And
so much. Yeah. You want to
yes,
say?
one last line, that we are from Chinmaya Vidyalaya, the mission we are following Chinmaya mission, and our Gurudev has one slogan: children are not vessels to be filled. Children are not vessels to be filled, but lamps to be lit.
Beautiful. That was
Yes.
so nicely said. Thank you so much for sharing from the bottom of your heart and for telling us what were the significant takeaways. And you put it so well. बहुत अच्छा लगा सुन के. I could see the passion. वो passion दिख रहा था. The passion of teaching kids on all those experiences. Thanks a lot. Thanks. I think you people can make a big difference to the kind of human beings that we finally produce. Thanks so much. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Who's next?
Yes. One teacher from our school only wants to share some thoughts.
हरिओम एवरीवन। मैं अभी यही बोलना चाहती हूँ कि जो ये काम कर रहे हैं, क्योंकि बोलना बहुत इजी है, पर आप इतने सारे टीचर को ट्रेन कर रहे हैं, ये बहुत बड़ा टास्क है। और आपके थ्रू जो हम ये सीखे हैं, ये जरूर हम इम्प्लीमेंट तो करते हैं सारा, पर अभी जो सारा रिवाइज हुआ है, अगर बार बार आप ऐसे आपके तरफ से ऐसे सेशन रखते हैं, तो हमें नीड है, हम एक बार सीखे, इतने तो सारे ही नहीं रहते इंटेलिजेंस, क्योंकि किसी किसी को बार बार सुनने से वो इम्प्लीमेंटेशन हो जाता है। तो आप अगर आपके तरफ से ऐसे कुछ वेबिनार रखे तो हम जरूर उसमें पार्टिसिपेट करेंगे। और हमारे गुरुजी की एक लाइन है, वो अगर हम टीचर ने उतना ध्यान में रखा तो एज अ गुड ह्यूमन बीइंग हमारे देश के जो अच्छे नागरिक चाहिए वो हम जरूर कर सकेंगे, क्योंकि हमारे स्कूल इज अवर टेम्पल। अगर हमारा स्कूल हमारा टेम्पल है, स्टूडेंट्स आर आवर गॉड एंड आवर टीचर टीचिंग इज आवर वर्कशिप। हम पूजा समझ के अगर इसको कर रहे हैं तो डेफिनेटली हमारे जो आगे की जो जनरेशन है उसे हेल्प होगी, और एक अच्छा जो अभी का जो एटमॉस्फेयर है, कुछ हमें लगता है इसमें चेंज होना चाहिए, वो डेफिनेटली हो जाएगा। सो वी विल ट्राई। थैंक यू।
Thank you.
Yeah, who do we have next?
Zarina?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah.
Can I share? I have only one slide,
Spotlight.
which will be the flow of the whole thing. Only
Sure.
one slide. Is it possible to share?
Sure. Fantastic. Yes. Can you please give her the sharing rights? Can the host please give her the sharing rights? And I can put her on. Zarina,
Can you see?
video? Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Oh my God, my internet connection shows to be unstable. It's okay. Before I start, I'll just give you a background of what I have been doing. I'm a psychologist and a remedial therapist for dyslexia. I'm also a part of a group of psychologists which conducts these rational emotive education sessions known as CORE. It is Cognitive Rational Emotive Education, CORE for schools. I'm telling you this because I'm trying to give you a feedback and compare what we were doing and how what I did in last 6 days has enhanced my knowledge of SEL. Okay. The rational, we'll go with the rational. There are 3 levels that I'm going to speak on. One is the rational, the outreach and structure and methodology. Okay, and I'll compare what we have been doing and how. I think I'll switch off the slide now. Okay. Sorry. from where it goes. Yeah. Okay. So the rationale that we had, or maybe see, SEL is not new to me. I have read Daniel Goleman, and I practice it with my children who come for remedial education, and in schools that we are going only once a week. Okay, and the rationale is basically what, like yesterday, what Leslie spoke, that the parents understand goal setting and empathy, self-acceptance, all these things, goal setting, being successful human beings and being good human beings. Okay, developing good relations, all these things. These were the motives which were driving us, so that the children can be good when they grow up, that they can be good human beings. But what Leslie spoke first day about her experiences with the rapists and the lawyers, it just stunned me. It just stunned me. It was like a moment where I realized that these are the dire consequences of not giving SEL to children. So my whole concept of SEL just took a turnaround. That it is not only goal setting children at a personal level, but to understand other human beings also, what they are going through. Empathy, of course, we were teaching, but it was, sorry. So this is the rationale that why we need to do it. It is not only a successful human being, but a human being who is the citizen of the world, a global citizen, who understands diversity, who empathizes with each and every person who he comes across, and the, of course, the environment around. This was one thing. Second thing I'll talk about is outreach. Outreach in the sense that who are we doing it for? What we were doing was optional. But again, that changed when Leslie ma'am spoke that why optional? Why shouldn't it be given to every child? This was optional and this was paid. So only people who could afford it can come for this. So why only a few children? Why not everyone? This is important for each and every child. Each and every child needs it. So this is what again changed for me, that no, we have to do it for each and every child. This SEL thing. It should not be limited to only people who can afford to do it. Okay, this was another thing. The third thing that I want to talk about is the structure of this program. Our structure, yes, my structure was that we were doing it only once a week, and we used to go psychologist and then come back. So the learning did not remain throughout with them. The teachers didn't know what was happening in class, so they could not build upon it. So the thing here is that each and every teacher is trained so that it remains with them throughout the day and throughout the week. That was one thing. Secondly, when initially Samantha and they spoke that it is thrice a week, I was wondering why thrice a week? Why do we need it thrice a week? But when I went through the story that Manjushri ma'am took with the lesson plan, I realized that it is a process. We give an idea. The idea may be of uniqueness, like idea, and then we process it, and then we change it to action. So this full 1 week is a process in building that concept within a child. And the teachers all the time with them, so they can, at every moment they can practice this. So idea to the process of understanding it, and then the process and activating it. So this really made me think that what we are doing, I'm not saying we were doing something wrong, but there were some shortfalls. So now this has added on to my knowledge of what we need to add on everything. What are the things important that are too important? They're necessary, not only important, they're necessary. if we can understand that importance and necessary. It is important, which is again optional. I want to do it or not do it. Necessary, I have to do it. Okay, so we have to do this with children. And the part that it has to be free for all, that again is very important. And then the stories, of course. The stories, when we were doing, we had to look for stories. We had to go out, how look for one session, we had to sit down and, plan out everything. But here the structure is ready made with stories and how to go about it, the lesson plan. It's so structured and easy. For at least I felt when I saw that lesson plan of one story. So they're so beautifully, structured, I would say again the word, so beautifully structured that we can just incorporate it and do it for the children. And of course, the art of storytelling. I learned that from Ilarun ji, from Manjushri ji. A beautiful. And the language, especially the Hindi one. I loved the Saral and Sada language that it was put in. Really beautiful. The language that the children can understand. I mean, beautifully put. I just cannot, say too much about it. It's wonderful. So I was wondering if, always we have to give the stories in English. We can rotate it between Hindi and English, right? There are some stories which might attract children in Hindi, and especially children, like we were yesterday talking, the children who come at 3 years of age, they are not very conversant with English. So, we can just give them the stories in Hindi, and for us also, I think narrating the story in Hindi would come, expressing them in Hindi would come more easily to me than in English, I think. I don't know, maybe that's personal, my personal opinion.
That's a great idea. We never thought of it, Zarina. I think, Manvi, isn't that such a brilliant idea? Because this is not for language development.
Absolutely.
It's for social emotional literacy, not for language development. So what a great idea.
Language. Language should never be a barrier to learning. Never ever. We don't realize very often language becomes a barrier. एक obstacle हो जाता है. So speak in the language, and we should not have any inhibitions about it. Okay, speak in a language
I don't,
the students are comfortable. And I think we have to thank Manjushri, the way she has planned this out, structured it. You were talking about storytelling. I think she just deserves it 100%, really.
So yeah, thanks. It's a very nice idea.
Just one more thing. There are three kinds of parents that I understand. There are some rigid parents, like the first day when Leslie spoke, that there are parents who don't want to change. There are parents, young parents, who are ready to change and who want to take it in, the ideas. And there are some parents who know there is an issue, but they don't know what to do about it. So, we can tap those parents also and plan out some structure for them also. Maybe we can tell them this is what we are doing with your children. So, they will be aware that, okay, so we can make, like yesterday she spoke, that the children can be the change makers. The children can be the change makers. They can bring about a change in the parents. And neuroplasticity, yes, it is at the low. But my example I can take, if I can give, my neuroplasticity is still working. I'm a lifelong learner, and maybe at a lower level. I did my master's when after my son was diagnosed with having dyslexia. After that, I did my master's in psychology at the age of 42. I learned to drive at the age of 49. And I think there is no limit where, you can do things. And still, I am ready. Whatever I have learned about my emotional learning in the past, I'm ready to, give it a turnover and do it the way Samantha is doing. So I think that's
this is really wonderful, actually. To be able to be so reflexive, this is what we need. And even I'm learning, and I always tell my students, I have learned so much from my students. and you should be open to that.
Yes.
And open to all kind of constructive criticism that comes from students.
Yes,
Don't
exactly.
ever think that is an attack on your capability.
No,
never ever.
Never.
Okay, their feedback will help you grow. Always think of it that way.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Zarina. Very nice. Thank you.
Thank you for giving us this opportunity to speak up. Yeah.
Thank you, Zarina. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay, then we move on to the next speaker.
Singhania school teachers will be presenting.
Yes, good morning. I am Rajeshri here, Rajeshri Suresh. So first, let us all, I think, as Manjushri ma'am says, let's first unmute and we will all start with a loud clap. I think we need to start with that. Yes.
How nice.
Thank you so much, teachers. Thank you. Yes, thank you. Thanks a lot for doing this. Yes, I'm also a pre-primary teacher. I've been with Singhania School for 33 plus years. It's been a great journey. Our school, Singhania School, has got around 3 to 4 branches. We have most of our 50 odd teachers here who have been a part of the school for quite some time. They've been here. Our school motto is also offer equal opportunities to all and grow to the fullest potential. And I think, can you all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Louder because it's just.
There's some connectivity issue.
No, this is perfect.
Is it perfect? Is it fine?
Now the mic is closer.
Thank you. Thank you. I think this platform has given us lots to introspect and also go ahead with the things what we do. Firstly, would like to really thank this medium, the Samantha Group, the Mrs. Manjushri Patil, Founder Education, and the country director, Mrs. Manjushri Patil and her team, Leslie Edwin, founder of Think Equal, Dr. Balani, Principal BTTC, Dr. Leena Pujari, and all the eminent speakers over the 6 days. Just loved it. It was a really great session. Really, we went through, we are able to look into the other ways of teaching, other ways of introspecting, other ways of knowing ourselves, grow more. So I think this has been a beautiful journey for 6 days. And what are the key things which we take from here? Of course, in Singhania School, we do a lot of QCT activities with circle time, where we do have social emotional activities, story time and songs and all, which we teachers make it ourselves. But still, there is a lot more to take away from here. So some of the key things which we started doing nowadays, we are taking online sessions. Some of the things which we really did, some of our teachers did that ladybird thing with their children, and we tried to share that was a great experience. The song which was shared on expressions and feelings, we tried it with our children. First day, they were all acting the same way. But the next day, one of the child said, "I am sad, teacher, today." I said, "Why?" So she says, "Teacher, we are not able to come to school, so I am sad about it." So they started expressing their feelings and coming to understand the difference between happy, sad, or angry, and all those things. So these key futures or the key takeaways for our teachers to make our learning more effective, I would say introspect and grow, making this more important part of our teaching learning process. I would say that hello.
नहीं साधारण कमाओ लेक्चर अटेंड करना कंपलसरी अटेंडेंस चाहिए मेरे को उसका.
Okay. It is that the curriculum for transformation will help us to overcome the discrimination, inequality, and injustice. SEL must be given the same amount of importance as much as the numeracy and literacy. We should focus on the holistic development of the child and provide children the freedom to experience the world on their own. Of course, we should be doing, and we are doing, of course, at our school, learning through free play is so very important. That's something which helps the children to express, to grow, and to be what they are. Of course, the language barriers, yes, we should speak in Marathi, in Hindi to make the children comfortable. which is something very important takeaway for all of us. EQ and IQ both contribute in the growth of a child. So we should look into both the things is again a beautiful takeaway. Yes, as all the other speakers of today said, the mood meter was something excellent, a great takeaway for us because we need to try that. Yes, we have not done that. We will be surely doing that. That was a great takeaway to understand the children's mood for the day and the importance of stories. Storytelling is a beautiful way of expression. Stories and songs, again, are beautiful. I love the books, the way it is being narrated, and of course, the stories. Of course, again, putting it Hindi and English together, we should be telling stories to the children and bring in the values. And each and every emotion is natural to be happy or angry or sad or whatever. Every expression should be appreciated. So brain, and very important, we also learned that the brain develops, the neurons are developed fastest between the 6 years of age. And we have such a pivotal role to play as teachers to see that we give them the right direction or help them to grow in the right way. And very important also, labeling them or children by their color, caste, creed, I think, or the religion or anything, or the toys and the colors being pink and blue or such things should be avoided in the long run. I think we all grow with time and we understand, as one of the speakers said, wish we had all this understanding when we were young or when we were young mothers. Maybe it is best that the rest of the present generation is learning so much and they can change for the better. And as teachers, I would say we always grow. We always, want to do the best for our little ones. We should not be adopting, but adapt to the change. We should be the change makers, and situations or circumstances. But to the situations and circumstances, we just not teach and preach, but we follow it also. It is important to develop their socio-emotional skills and to make them better human beings for tomorrow. We should learn to respect and love and be empathetic and be a responsible. We should make them responsible citizens. I would just want to end up. This is a culmination of all my teachers across the 3 schools who have been here. And it's a thought that it has been really very good. I just want to end up with a short line written by my teacher about, think equal, that I have a heart and it's happy, but sometimes hurt, wondering if you are on one up. And I must put up. I think we're all different people whom you didn't care to treat equal. It's time to think equal, to stop the violent sequel. We can create the new normal only if each one dares to think equal. This is one of my teachers who has put in. I would say a big thank you to Samantha team, Mrs. Manjushri Pratil, and all the teachers, the whole team who have worked for it, and Miss Leslie, Think Equal, for giving us all the teachers an opportunity to think bigger and bring in socio-emotional development, stress more on socio-emotional development in the coming years more. Thank you so much for keeping us associated with this webinar. We would look forward to see more of the webinars and attend and grow. Thanks from our school principal, Revati Srinivasan Madam, and Kebral Ma'am to you all. Thank you so much for giving us this opportunity.
Thank you.
Wonderfully spoken, wonderfully. I think Manjushri, you'll have to organize another webinar soon enough. She underscored the need. How we have to really think about not labeling our children. Not only in terms of race or skin color or height or weight or whatever, but also in terms of you are extremely intelligent, come on, you are taking a long time, you need to respond well. These are the things that we must not actually do, and give them a space to understand that everybody is capable, can do well, can perform well, and needn't be left in the quarters. Okay, so thank you so much for sharing your experiences. And So true. I think I feel we need to revisit our parenting practices. Really true. Probably now I'm a better person. And now, and as I keep saying, I learned so much. My daughter turns around and say, but you didn't do this right.
Yes,
I think
very
our generation, she tells me, I don't know about your generation, but our generation is kinder, more compassionate, more gentle. She actually tells me that. And I'm learning, even now, I'm learning from her. And I tell you, it's a wonderful experience. So we all need to be reflexive about it. Thank you so much. And do we have more speakers?
Yeah, I know. When Rajashri said, I wish it was at least when I was a young parent, I was like, so true. I mean, now we are beyond that. But let's say,
Absolutely.
Rajashri, we'll become better grandparents.
Possible. Yes, very true.
We'll become grandparents, and then
Yes.
we'll bring the Samantha books and we'll sit and read to our bachus.
Perfect. Very true. Very true. My son always says the same. Mama, you didn't did this to me, or I mean, your perspective was not that way at that time. I said I was too young, maybe we were not exposed so much to all this. So now you feel yes, we can give it to our children, the next generation.
Right.
And I think by the generations we need to change and adapt. So I think that's so. I think you're taking that one step ahead by making us understand, and we should be able to do much more for our children. Thank you so much from all my Singania school
Culturally,
teachers.
also, we were not really as much in that space of expressing our emotions.
Right.
इमोशंस को इतना फोकस दिया नहीं जाता था हमारे बचपन में because well that was the way it was. I mean there's no because to it. It was the way it was.
Exactly.
And it's not good or
Yeah.
bad. It was the way it was, and so we've learned. We'll work it in a different way.
You said it very right, Manjushri. It's not about whether it was good or right or not. That is how it was. And if there are changes, if there are other ways of doing it, let's go ahead with it, you know, rather than becoming judgmental.
Thank you, Rajashri. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot from all my Singania teachers.
Yeah. Do we have other speakers? Do we have people who can speak? Bas?
No, we're done with our feedback. Unless there are any, like I was telling them on the first day, popcorns. Anyone who'd like to just pop up and say a line that you feel very strongly about, or that resonated, that probably we've missed in our thing here today. Anybody would like to enlighten us with something that has been their aha moment that has caught their attention?
There have been some comments coming in.
Most welcome.
There's a comment from Sudhaji saying we should use the mood meter for the staff also. We get to know and respect each other much better. So not just for students, but even for teachers and staff, she says it's a brilliant tool that can be used.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Without doubt. Yes.
Without a doubt.
So we are now, it's now 11:25. I think someone wants to speak. Yeah, yes.
Yeah, this is Preeti Palkar actually from one of Singania schools. I just wanted to ask one question. Below this age group of 6, right, from 3 to 6, that is where we teach the pre-primary teachers. Are the girls and boys physically on the same strength? I am talking with regards to sports. Because we normally have, girls race or a boys race, that kind of a thing. So should we take that together? Because I had a girl last year who asked, why can't I compete with that boy? I will come first. You know, that kind of a thing. So I just wanted if you could answer that.
Yeah, if I may answer this question, this is a question that is too often posed in my classrooms, right? And even I have seen adults talk about it. Even within NSS in our college, teachers do make the statements. We need boys because they have to carry those stones and boulders. And I have seen a rigid gender segregation in terms of the roles that are assigned to them. So when it's about making diyas and selling it and handing over a bouquet to a guest, invariably we ask girls to come in, right? So, and we as feminist scholars put it this way. See, it is a well-known fact, even scientifically established, that girls are born stronger than boys. Because the Y chromosome that is present in boys, this is a long established fact, the Y chromosome that is present in males makes them weaker, which is why in the first year of a child's birth, you have more number of boys dying than girls dying. However, you see, by the time they are 6 years old or 5 years old, girls are already weaker physically and boys are stronger. That is because of our stereotypical ideas, and diet and nutrition plays a very important role here. Now, here one might argue, but there is obviously no discrimination in
hear you.
food
I'm
in
sorry.
our homes. Is there someone who wants to say something?
I couldn't hear you. There was a lag there. I just could get the
yeah,
answer.
my connectivity is it okay now?
Yeah, now it is fine.
So I was just saying, I think we have about 2 minutes or so before Dr. Balani joins us, I guess. I was just saying that girls are born stronger and boys are born weaker because of the Y chromosome in them. So,
Yes.
but by the time they're 6 years old or 5 years old, girls actually become weaker. This is not across, I don't want to generalize, but this does happen in certain classes and in certain areas. That also happens because of differences in diet and nutrition. You know, the tendency to feed boys. Now, here one might argue, but that doesn't happen in our home. It doesn't happen in most of our homes. We don't discriminate in matters of food, but we discriminate in very subtle ways and we don't realize that it is happening. So, you know, there was one student who said, you know, he came from a very well-off family and he narrated this interesting story to me. So when I was telling this in the class, this was received with disbelief. Oh, ma'am, this doesn't happen. It doesn't happen in our home. What are you saying? Then one boy stood up and he said, he came from a very well educated, well-off family. And he said, ma'am, no, I understand what you're saying. In my home, he says, my mother insists that I should have a glass of milk, eat eggs on a daily basis. She also asks my sister to do it. But if my sister fusses over it or refuses, she lets it go. But in my case, she will not get up from the table till I finish that. Right? So we don't realize in the kind of ways that it happens. You know, we feel boys have to grow up physically strong. They have to go up physically stronger. They have to be extremely competitive. For girls, yes, they have to grow up strong and healthy. But if they're not physically strong, it's okay. You know, we will manage. So we give this example. See, I think most of you travel by local trains. You must have seen. Have you seen those women who come in? Many of them are tribal women who come in without head load of I don't know how much or how many kilos, plus their children. You see them carrying their children and selling those stuff in the train. And I often wonder, how do they do it? I don't think I would be able to do it. Or most of us sitting here would not be. So this, you know, so if they were physically weak, probably they wouldn't be doing this. Right? And this is the example. So we, you know, this is what we get into, right? So we say, let's not get into this business of physical strength. It actually has a lot to do with nourishment. It will vary from family to family. And it also has to do with a lot with genes. I mean, you know, there are so many people, there are so many women who are marathon runners, and I've seen they have left the men behind. The men just cannot compete with them. How does that happen? Right? So whenever we bring out these ideas of strength, I always say we need to neutralize it, okay? And look at other aspects of the thing. Thank you.
So then, yeah, thank you. It answered, but the basic question actually, that should we pull them together while running?
Yes.
Remains unanswered. So I thought I'll just...
That I think it's a fantastic perspective that you've brought, Preeti, because we all need to start thinking on those lines, at least in our early years programs, where if we don't have any discrimination, children will not learn it at all. They will not see a boy different from a girl. You know, really speaking,
right.
The only thing that marks a boy different from a girl are the genitals. There's really nothing else. All else is learned behavior, I would want to believe. So at one point of time where they're small, why not? Why not? What it would do is it would take a little bit of educating the parents, because the parents might have their share of insecurities. So there comes in our Marathi saying, na, Karave janasa shahane. We'll have to just educate them. And I've given this example very often that, you know, Peter Senge's book, from the 5th Discipline series called Schools That Learn. It's a book of 1300 pages, a must read for anybody who's into school education. That book has reiterated that the job or the the onus of the school is not just to educate a child, but it's to educate the family, the community, and the country at large. It's not, it's a ripple effect. So एक बच्चे को आप educate करोगे तो सारी community और पूरा देश और पूरा world educate हो जाएगा. So इसी बहाने we can do it. In our preschool years, we can actually do this. Early years,
Actually, you said a very important thing, Manjushri. It's all interconnected. So you have to educate the parents, the community. We cannot operate in isolation. Fantastic. Very well said. Can you repeat the name of the book? We lost you there a bit.
Peter Senge, Petersenge, Peter Senge. He has written he has written books in the 5th discipline series, and the 5th discipline series are pretty much management related books, but within that he's written a book called Schools That Learn. Such an amazing book, anybody who's got anything to do with education must read. बहुत बढ़िया. Laid out very well. You know, you can just open it anywhere and get some gyan. That's how beautiful that book is. Please do read it. Thank you so much. So nice discussion, Preeti. Lovely. Thanks for broaching it.
Manjushri ma'am.
Manjushri is there.
Yes, I can see Maya ma'am is here.
I was just about to tell you this, that we already have Maya ma'am with us, and we are just waiting for a couple of minutes for Leslie to join us. And that's before Leslie joins in. I was thinking since you have shared your impressions, Manjushri ma'am, I was also thinking I'll request our principal, our most enthusiastic and enterprising principal, to also share a few words with our participants upon or how he feels on organizing this series. Sir, Balani sir, if you could.
Thank you, Dr. Neelu. Good morning to one and all. Madam Maya Shani, Manjushri Patil ma'am, and all dear colleagues and participants. It gives me pleasure to share it with you that this webinar series has become a stepping stone for all of us to start rethinking about the education system that we have adopted since so many years. And I think most of us have realized that rather than giving much importance to the subject knowledge, it's time to give more importance to the social upbringing and the emotional development of the children, so that we can ensure that when they grow up, they become the very potential and effective citizens, and they should contribute to the society and the nation. With these long-term objectives, we need to rethink, and then we have to ensure their development optimum. And for that, we need to rethink the curriculum, the content, pedagogies, our approaches. We really have to work out what works at the local level. In B.Ed, we have got gender, school, and society. So Neelu ma'am, myself, and Dr. Ajit Aleja, we teach this subject at BTDC. And in this paper is a fantastic paper. And this paper consists of government policies, women empowerment, different provisions that protect children from abuse, and the different government policies that protect the girls and ensure the gender equality and gender parity. In Bombay Teachers Training College, while organizing annual sports program, now since last 3 to 4 years, we have changed our own methodologies. Initially, we used to conduct separate events for girls and boys. But now since 3 years onwards, we have started adopting sports, whereas the girls and boys together can participate in these kind of sports. Apart from that, we have organized a conference in 2015 on biases and prejudice. Neelu ma'am, can you remind me what was the title of the conference that we organize.
Beyond bias and barriers, celebrating gender equality.
Yeah. So that was a fantastic conference, and so many papers were presented in this conference, and this conference was supported and funded by UGC, and the outcome was truly excellent. So we are working very hard to change the pedagogies, and we are also sensitizing the boys. Unfortunately, at BTTC, we don't receive many boys, but this year, since last 4-5 days, I have been doing the admissions, and fortunately 6 to 7 boys has taken the admission out of 30 admissions at BTTC. So I believe that we will be able to sensitize the boys. We will try to help them to understand what are their role towards the children. We would like to sensitize them more so that they can help the children to respect the girls, because we have received so many complaints from BBM school and MSPT school, whereas these grown-up boys of 9th standard and 10th standard, they don't respect our student teachers. They abuse them, and they don't allow them to speak in the classroom. And we have received many such complaints. So these kind of incidences have really compelled us to reflect on how to educate the boys, especially how to educate them to realize what goes on if they abuse someone else. So I think it's high time for all of us to reflect on these sensitive issues and educate our children so that every human being is respected, whosoever comes in their contact. Apart from this, as far as this 6 days international online workshop is concerned, there are so many takeaways that you have shared and will be shared. And I believe that this should be the starting point for all of us to reflect. Apart from taking care of our own job, our own responsibilities, we must spare some time, maybe 5 to 10%, and we must contribute it to the community and undertake community endeavors in this direction. So Bombay Teachers Training College is committed to undertake such social projects, whereas our student teachers, while doing the community work, while undertaking extension programs, we would like to go into the rural areas or municipal schools or any other schools, underprivileged schools, whereas we would like to
So you're muted. We can't hear you. Sorry. If you could just unmute yourself, please.
Oh my God. Was it muted?
No, not too long back. Just 10 seconds back.
Oh my God. How it happens. Okay. So we will love to undertake such kind of programs. And I believe that the curriculum that has been developed by Think Equal, the SEL program, can be taken further. And then we got an army of at least 200 teachers. This social army can be employed in rural areas, and this can be the beautiful message can be multiplied in the different sections of the society. So I believe that all the stakeholders who are present over here, the teachers of different schools, our student teachers, our teachers, and Samantha organization, Atman Academy, KC College. KC College is also doing a wonderful job, editing so many social work. And NSS unit is also equally doing a wonderful job. So I think it's time to come together, have a broader and long-term plans, and work, and BTTC is committed for that. I'm looking forward to have many more understandings, MOUs, collaborative programs, social programs, working together and emerging as a learning community. So this is from uh, our BTDC side, I would like to tell, and I will request Mrs. Mayashani. She's our mentor. She's our in IQSC internal quality assurance cell. She has been a guiding force for all of us, and I think she will guide us in this direction so that we can also contribute to the community development. Over to you, Dr. Nilu. Now you can carry.
So, sir, we also have now with us Miss Leslie Adwin, who's the driving force behind these 6 days. And we all know that very well. But for letting Maya ma'am know a little about her, we all know her as a human rights advocate and an education activist and a very, very passionate worker. But let me take a few minutes to formally introduce Leslie so that Maya ma'am also knows the kind of work that she's doing. So
who doesn't know Leslie? I know a lot about her, but still I would like to hear from you.
Yes, ma'am. She was voted by the New York Times the #2 most impactful woman of 2015. That was just second to Hillary Clinton, and has been awarded the prestigious Swedish Anna Lindh Human Rights Prize, which was previously won by Madeleine Albright. She's also been named SAFE's Global Hero of 2015, a Global Thinker by Foreign Policy, and the Global Minded Award for Arts and Education. And she has a lot of credit to herself. In 2019, Leslie was awarded the UN Women Peace Activist Award at the United Nations, UN Association USA's Global Citizen of 2019, and the Gandhi Foundation International Peace Award. She's a former filmmaker and now campaigner for a system change in education. Leslie is no longer a stranger to successful campaigns. Her film, Who Bombed Birmingham, starring John Hurt for HBO and Granada TV, directly led to the release of Birmingham 6 after 17 years of wrongful imprisonment. Her feature film, East is East, 35 prestigious awards worldwide, including a BAFTA for Best Film, did much to promote tolerance and the celebration of diversity as between the Asian and British communities, and has become a classic film taught in schools across Europe. That's such a marvelous achievement. Her documentary, India's Daughter, has been critically acclaimed around the globe, has won 32 awards, including the Peabody Award and the Amnesty International Media Award for Best Documentary in 2016, and is recognized as having sparked a global movement to end violence against women and girls. The soaring insights yielded by the 2.5 years journey, Making India's Daughter, led Leslie to found UK and US based not-for-profit global education initiative Think Equal, of which she's also the executive chair. This early years education program, the solution to the problem the film laid bare, is currently impacting more than 94,000 children in 16 countries across 6 continents. Think Equal has been awarded the prestigious World Innovation Summit for Education, that is WISE Award 2020, and has been selected as one of the 100 Global Collection 2020 most innovative innovations in K-12 education. Partners of Think Equal, under which we are doing this current 6-day series, include UNICEF, UNESCO, Jeffrey Sachs Earth Institute, and SDSN at Columbia University, the World Bank, the AC Milan Foundation, Montessori, the Institute for Healthy Minds, Wisconsin-Madison University, Charter for Compassion, the Dalai Lama Emory University's SEE curriculum, and the Yale University Center for Emotional Intelligence. Leslie is on various high-level think tanks, including the Inter-American Development Bank's Coalition for 21st Century Skills, Pope Francis's Pontifical Academy of Social Sciences,
Global Compact for Education, UN Economic Commission for Africa's Building Forward Together, the Education Commission's Save Our Future campaign, and the High-Level Advisory Group to deliver UN SDG Mission 4.7 alongside Ban Ki-moon, Audrey Azoulay, Director General UNESCO, Malala, Fernando Reimers, Harvard, and others. Ma'am, the list is endless. Her work speaks for herself. The more we read about her, the more we connect with the Think Equal program. These last 6 days have been really immensely helpful for all of us teachers over here, whether we are teaching the early years or whether we are teaching the adults, but it has impacted all of us equally. May I request Leslie to address the gathering?
Bahut dhanyavad, pyari behin. First of all, I want to thank you for giving me the time to even write a speech for this morning. I've just woken up. It's 6 o'clock. And I work, as you know, till the early hours of the morning. I finished my work last night at 3:15 a.m. So I didn't have time to actually prepare a speech. But during your introduction of me, I've managed to do so. It was so long and so kind. Thank you so much. Mayaji, it's a great honor to have you with us today. Thank you for being the driving spirit behind all of the work that BTTC does and HSNC. You have the most extraordinary son, may I start off by saying. I want to congratulate you on Akhil, who is an extraordinary young man.
He's the sunshine of my life.
He is amazing. And he is, of course, the one who brought us all together because I met him through Kaizenvest. Okay, I'm thrilled to be with you again. I spent some sizable chunk of time with you on the first day, which inspired me hugely, and you've sustained me. I've remembered your enthusiastic and extraordinary faces shining back at me from these lovely little boxes that contain you all. While I've been working this week, I've managed to drop in now and again, and I'm so thrilled to see how engaged you all are. Because at the end of the day, and actually before I move on, Dr. Bhagwanji, thank you too. Thank, the whole team BTTC, I'd like to thank for hosting this webinar and for being so supportive and so collaborative and indeed so proactive in making this an extraordinary 6-day webinar. So I hope I haven't left anyone out. And Manju?
KC College. KC College.
KC College. Okay, maaf karo. Forgive me.
And ECA.
And ECA. Okay, well, I will blame my omissions on the ungodly hour it is now in London. Thank you all. And at the end of the day, while listening to Niluji, I must say, I kept thinking, this isn't about me. This isn't about me. This is about you. This is about you, the teachers, the young teachers, those who are joining and those who are there. At the end of the day, it all begins and ends with you. And there is no more exemplary you, as far as I'm concerned, in the world than Manjushri Patil, who is just a shining beacon of light and commitment and loyalty. Manju and I have worked together for 3 years now. And I tell you, the generosity, the size of the heart of this extraordinary woman knows no bounds. Manjushri, mujhe tumse bahut pyar hai. You are utterly extraordinary, and thank you with all my heart. So I said that I managed to pull together something of a structure of a speech. So I better get down to it to prove that Neelu did indeed give me enough time to do so. The 10 minutes of my introduction. I want to start with a quote that has been, in a way, the founding spiritual quote that has taken me through from the inception of founding Think Equal and Samantha to right now, and will continue to take me through with my last dying breath to finish and continue this work, which we all of us now must do together. Mandela said, education is the most powerful weapon we have to change the world. What's critical is for us to remember and constantly remind ourselves what he meant by education. He didn't mean that broken system that was designed in and for the Industrial Revolution more than 200 years ago. He didn't mean that system that has barely changed since. What he meant by that system, which so badly needs reimagining and repurposing, is this. He said, no child is born hating another human being because of his gender, the color of his skin, his religion, or any other factor. A child has to be taught to hate. And if he can be taught to hate, he can be taught to love. Education, that education that we have been speaking of and dreaming of and celebrating the idea of for the last week together, is the primary engine of progress. There's another quite alarming quote, and it's alarming because it is so true, and it's getting increasingly true with every year that passes without this system change that we crave and that we are working so hard to bring about in education. And that is by a remarkable novelist called H.G. Wells. H.G. Wells said that civilization, and by that he meant the continuance of the extraordinariness of civilization from time immemorial into a sustainable future, and by that he meant a civil and civilized society. Civilization is a race between education and catastrophe. And if we think about that deeply, I think we will all recognize the fundamental truth. The crises, the moral crises that engulf us, that relentlessly throughout our world keep on growing. These things are not getting better. They are getting worse, because the more inured we become to violence, the more we see of it on our screens, on the internet, the more all of this proliferates, the more deadened we become inside, the more used we become to seeing images, searing images, as I saw earlier this year, which will not leave my head until the day I die, of a bomb going off somewhere in Iraq at a maternity hospital, and coming out of the rubble and the fire blazing, this inferno of hell that our leaders have created for us, this world. Coming out of it was a soldier, bloodied, carrying a gun and a newborn baby in his left hand. I cannot get this image out of my head because this image actually tells us what we have become and what we're headed towards unless we fundamentally commit ourselves to action to change this. It's not enough to have extraordinary, wonderful webinars. It's not enough for us to talk anymore. We have to take the active steps. And you are all doing that just by emerging from this week, whatever you've done before, and I'm sure that you have done the sort of active participation in what I'm talking about. But now is the time when we must leap forward out of this week and take our future and our children's future, those children that Gandhiji spoke of when he said, if we want real peace in this world, we shall have to start with the children. Those are the children that we reach and can only reach through you. So having considered for all this time education to be limited to numeracy and literacy and testing, having considered the education system to be a factory line assembly that is basically preparing our children to be cogs in the labor market, in a machine of the labor market. Let me end or begin to end with a quote, another quote of Gandhiji. Here's what he said directly about education. He said, by education, I mean an all-round drawing out of the best in child and man, body, mind, and spirit. Literacy is not the end of education, not even the beginning. It is one of the means whereby men and women can be educated. Literacy in itself is no education. He also said the real, and what he meant by that, of course, as we know at the end of this week, is there's a missing subject. There's a missing third dimension to education. He doesn't mention numeracy in that quote, but of course, we know that our education system has been predicated upon only numeracy, literacy, and testing. Now, of course, numeracy and literacy are important, but I want to remind you of the framing question I asked at the beginning of this week, because that goes to the heart of what we need to think about and act upon and advocate for. The framing question is, and I would have asked it of Varsha ji, the education minister of Maharashtra, who was due to join us this morning, I believe for unforeseen circumstances, she was not able to join us. But I would have asked her this question that I remember posed at the very beginning of this webinar on Monday. And the question is this. Ma'am, how can you, who have a duty of care for your youngest, most vulnerable citizens as education minister of a state, how can you deem it to be compulsory for your children to learn numeracy and literacy, but it's optional for your children to learn how to value another human being? How can that be? It's optional for your children to learn how to have self-esteem and love of others and lead healthy relationships? How can that be? This is what we're working towards, is making Samantha or programs like it, when they start to emerge in the future, because I can tell you, this is the only program of its kind in the whole world. How can that be? It's true. It's because hitherto we simply have not understood the critical importance of what we are teaching our children from the moment they open their eyes. Now, we cannot control what happens to our children before the age of 3. They will be at that age what their parents and the terrible imagery that they see all around them leads them to be. But we've got until the age of 6 to change that. And when they enter our classrooms, now at the age of 3, because of the very enlightened new education policy, the NEP, I mean, India has now joined very few countries in the world, and my country's not one of them. But in Central and South America, Latin-speaking countries have already reached this extraordinary level of enlightenment that understands that early years are the foundational key. It's where moral compasses are made. It's where brain development is intensive and modifiable. After 6, as you've learned this week, the hardwiring in the brain is set. And what we are at 6, we will be for the rest of our lives. So you, the teachers, have to get in there between 3 and 6. Gandhiji also said that the real difficulty is that people have no idea of what education truly is. He said, we assess the value of education in the same manner as we assess the value of land or of shares in the stock exchange market. We want to provide only such education as would enable the student to earn more. We hardly give any thought to the improvement of the character of the educated. The girls, we say, do not have to earn, so why should they be educated? As long as such ideas persist, there is no hope, said Gandhi, of our ever knowing the true value of education. So what have we been pondering this week? Fundamentally, the question of how has it not occurred to us really when designing the education that we will nurture and prepare our children with for life, for the rest of their lives, for a sustainable future, that they need to be taught experientially and with practice, empathy and respect for others, emotional intelligence, self-regulation, the value of each and every human being, gender equality. Who is teaching our children gender equality? We are teaching them in society the opposite of gender equality. It is our duty as the educators, as the leaders of the moral compass and moral responsibility for a sustainable future for people and planet. It is our job to teach them the value of each and every human being. In short, social and emotional learning, the foundation that is required for human rights, for peace and prosperity to thrive, for a safe, free and equal world. So we must commit, all of us. We have a moral duty to commit to educating our children to embrace equality. Think equal, samanta. We must focus on breaking this cycle of gender stereotypes and value judgments, and we must do so from the first day of a child's education to the last, on a compulsory, formal basis. This we owe to Gandhiji's memory, to his legacy, and this we owe to the next generation. Now, the inescapable conclusion of all of this, not just these last 20 minutes of my speaking to you, but the last week the last 4 years of the work that Think Equal is bent upon and Samantha has been doing, the inescapable conclusion is this is all about you. You make the difference. You are the brain builders who will construct pro-social neuropathways, co-construct them with our children, our next generation. All of you have what it takes to help children learn about relationships, to help them learn about themselves and others, and about the world in positive ways, to promote these skills, these life skills, these competencies, now and in the future. You are your children's present. You are your children's future. And for that, I honor you. And I thank you from the depths of my heart. Thank you for your patience with a lengthy, what turned out to be a lengthy closing address. I want to turn now to just considering what are next steps. Because of course, I spoke about the fact that all that matters is action and active steps, which means we must consider together what next? What after these wonderful 6 days that we've spent together? For our part, I wish I could say one of the next steps is, and we will aim for this, but I can't say this yet because, you know, Think Equal is a pure and simple charity. We have to raise money in order to give our program for free, because you'll remember I said on the first day, it is our absolute sacred belief that every child has a right to this education. We cannot start charging teachers and schools for this. You know, we have these wonderful, extraordinary books, which you've seen many of, and you've had some wonderful people, you know, reading upside down, reading these amazing books. This costs money to print, right? And we need always to raise money from, and thank God we've encountered the most extraordinary generosity in human beings. We've had some amazing partners. In some countries, UNICEF has funded us. In one country, the World Bank has funded us. But mostly it is enlightened and amazing philanthropic individuals who get this, who understand that this is the way we can change our world. And it is so urgent and critically so that we do so. So we are always working towards, where are we going to reach out next? Where are our next 1,000 or more Anganwadis? Well, first, let me tell you, I'm just diverging for 1 minute because I'm so excited about this. The government, the state of Rajasthan, has asked us, now we have actually piloted in 5 states, in 100 Anganwadis in each state. And we did this in partnership with Kaivalya Foundation, who are just extraordinary. And an amazing philanthropic couple, Madhavi and Rupin Vadera, who I worship for their extraordinary heart the size of a planet. Together we have brought Think Equal, Samantha, to 500 Anganwadis in Rajasthan, Bihar, MP, UP, and Jharkhand. And in every single one of these states, at a district level or the state education ministry has come back to Kaivalya and said, more, we need more. Jharkhand, what do you mean 100? We need 1,600 now sets. But of course, we can't do any of this. We can't set you off with our materials in your hands and send them to you now without raising the money for that, because, and we will not let you pay. I mean, Manju will, everyone kills me constantly for saying this and says to me, if a school can pay, don't stop them from getting the program. And I suppose that's true. But we cannot start an unequal system where the schools that can afford it buy it and the schools that can't don't. So we will work towards trying to equip you to be Samanta Fellows. That's what we want you to graduate from this week into. Those of you who want to commit to this movement, because remember, Think Equal Samanta is not just a program. I mean, as a program, it's transformatory, but it is a movement to finally achieve a system change that's long overdue in education. What we would like to do is equip you. We want to give you each a backpack. And in that backpack, we want our 90 lesson plans of level 1, our booklet of lesson plans, our booklet of resources. Remember this one? All of these extraordinary resources that go with, teaching our children this program, and the 22 books, narrative picture books, which comprise the program in your backpack. And we want you to go out, firstly, to teach whatever classrooms you are in or are going to go into, because I know some of you are pre-service in training, and then go beyond that and knock on Varsha, Varsha Ji's door and say, every Anganwadi in Maharashtra, come on, let Maharashtra be the state that bears the torch for Bharat. I see our lovely Chinmaya is shaking her head. Why? Why, darling? Unmute yourself and tell me why. Oh, you're saying good.
Yeah, I'm saying
all right.
good, and what you have just said, we want to follow that and become our India, become our Maharashtra will become very good and very educated country in the world.
Shakte Fateh.
Yes, Jai Maharashtra.
Come on, Behen, do it.
Jai Maharashtra.
Yes, indeed. Jai Maharashtra, Jai Hind.
Yeah.
Now, we can achieve this.
Yes, and I want to add something in you.
Yes.
That ability is not important. Availability is important, right?
Beautiful.
Is that correct?
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Showing up, being committed to critically important work. We have to stop our boys from growing up to be rapists and murderers. We have to stop this. This is only one of the things, of course, that Think Equal and Samanta tackles. But how can we stop it when what we're teaching them from the minute they open their eyes in the world is that there is an inequality, is that they are up here and girls are down here? I mean, if we don't teach them this from the age of 3 to 6, they're lost. They will do what society has taught them, and what society has taught them leads them to do all manner of things that create the moral crisis and development emergencies that we actually are engulfed by. And that's just one example. And I shouldn't keep on talking about rape and gender, because we're talking about all manner of abuses, religious bigotry and racial bigotry and colorism. Being told that fair is beautiful and dark is down there, and casteism. My God, we have work to do. So what we would love to do is have you, as part of the army of this change, in doing this, by the way, you're joining extraordinary people. You're joining Meryl Streep. You're joining the 2 co-founders of the Yale Center for Emotional Intelligence. You're joining amazing individuals. You're joining Pope Francis. You're joining UNESCO and UNICEF in the work that they are doing with us. This is a movement, and we're in 6 continents, and we're starting huge work in India. I didn't finish my sentence. The government of Rajasthan has now invited us, after the 100 Anganwadis that they saw children being miraculously transformed. There's no miracle about it. It's neuroscience. It's very simple. But they saw this. They've asked us to come with Kaivalya Foundation now into 15,000 Anganwadis. That is 525,000 choti bachan of ours, right? Starting from April this year. They've given me 2 months to raise the money. Well, when they came and said, we have to start last year, we have an inauguration planned, we can't delay it. You have 1 week to fund 500 Anganwadis. I managed then, and I will manage this time. But what I'm saying is, it's a very long-winded way of my saying, I would love to be able to say to all of you, your backpack is arriving next week and we are starting, and you are gonna go in your time, not necessarily this year, but you're gonna go at some point to a village, one of the remote villages, because we are pledged to go to every child in every classroom, in every country in the world, and to every school in every village in India. So we can't do any of this without you. You are the army who carries out this work, this army for good. We will work somehow on getting you those 200 backpacks. I believe there are 200 of you who have over the week expressed that they want to join this movement, that they want to do this work. We also, of course, beg our partners and our colleagues at BTTC and HSMC and KC to continue to work with us to bring the Think Equal training into their institutions. Let us make Think Equal available. Let's have a backpack for each and every one of the trainee teachers who come in from now on to those amazing institutions of learning. We will do this together. If you haven't already expressed your interest in moving forward with us, please write your name and email ID in the chat, because our wonderful Sundar Manavi Bal, who is again an extraordinary, you'll have seen her a lot this week, and she's so amazing. She's just been marvelous. Manavi will contact all of you, and we will find a way of getting this done. But you need to give us some time. And I promise you, if I had any money left, I would be giving it to you just for your beautiful, enthusiastic faces that I've seen whenever I've been on this week. You've been just so present and so absolutely committed. So thank you all with all of our hearts on behalf of the whole Samantha and Think Equal team. Thank you, and thank you for your patience. My goodness, it has been a long contribution.
Thank you so much. We all know beginning is always the hardest, but it's never too late for a new beginning in life. So if these 6 days have been a little bit of spark, if they have ignited that little bit of spark in any of these attendees, I'm sure it's not going to take much time to, kind of burst into a flame, and everybody will passionately work towards the cause that we have been trying to, take ourselves to. Thank you so much for being so enthusiastic, Leslie, for speaking from the bottom of your heart. That passion shows on your face, in your eyes, and in your voice. Thank you so much for inspiring all of us and motivating us to do something good.
Thank you.
And I speak on behalf of all the teachers present over here. Thank you so much, Maya ma'am, for being with us this morning. And thank you so much for your precious time. Let me introduce our very own Mrs. Maya Shani to everybody on the platform. She's a governing board member and trustee of the HSNC board and chairperson of the SAGE Foundation. She's also the chairperson of Thadumal Shani Center for Management, we call it CFM, the business school of the future, which imparts global quality management education and focuses on creating heart-centric business leaders. CFM has recently won the DNA Award for the best business school for industry-academia linkages. Ma'am is the trustee of Thadumal Shani Trust. She's the Vice Chairperson of Global Dialogue Foundation and founder trustee of Women's Movement for Peace and Prosperity under the Aegis of Times Foundation. She is also the Education Board member of Sadhu Vaswani Mission and Priyadarshini Academy. I'm sure many of you have heard these names. She is the patron of Cancer Patients Aid Association and governing board member of the Bombay Mothers and Children Welfare Society, as well as the chairperson of Justice H.K. Chenani Elders Home. Ma'am fulfills all her duties with compassion, love, and commitment. And she's made a difference to the lives of so many people around her. I'm sure once you all hear her speak, you will also be left so inspired. Maya ma'am, I'll request you to please address the gathering.
Thank you, Neelu, for this wonderful introduction. And thank you, Dr. Balani, for inviting me today, because I never realized this was going to be such a delightful experience. I was expecting something great, of course, but then, Leslie, you outdid what I expected to hear from you. And I love you because you spoke my language. This is exactly how I think and I feel. And I think you are absolutely on the right track, and we'll all support you. Because of my own experience, I say this through my own experience. And I feel that, education has been totally trampled upon. We've damaged our children so much. In my, if I speak from my own childhood experience, I was miserable in school. I was miserable because I used to always come first. And coming first also, it's like an albatross around your neck, because you have to constantly prove yourself. And our schools don't teach us how to handle success or failure. Before coming first every year, I used to come last. And then I came across this wonderful teacher who gave me so much self-confidence that just to prove to her, I did so well that I started coming first. But at that age, I didn't know how to handle either success or failure. And I was constantly miserable. I remember a time when I was asked to come on stage as Radha. There was a show on Radha and Krishna. And I had worked so hard for it. I practiced day and night. And then on the last day, my teacher told me, "Oh, you can't be Radha. We'll keep Basanti instead of you." And I said, "But why?" I was stunned and shocked. She said, "No, you're too tall to be Radha because Krishna is shorter than you." So from that day onwards, I felt that, being tall is a crime. So they used to call me the palm tree and the camel in school. So I constantly slouched and I landed up with a hunchback. So you're very right. We should never label our children. We should always make them feel that they're good no matter how or where or what they're doing. They're perfect. We're all unique in our own ways. And like Howard Gardner said, there are multiple intelligences, and we should acknowledge that and embrace the uniqueness in each and every child. One of my grandchildren, he's a so-called special child. When he was in school, he was constantly told he's not good enough, and he went to the best of schools. But then he was constantly told he was not good, he was bullied, and they said he had to be put in a special school. But I saw the sparks of intelligence in him, and I said, no, there's nothing wrong with him. He's absolutely good the way he is. And but throughout his schooling, he was made to feel he's not good enough. Now he's joined, Leslie, I want you to hear this. He's joined an organization called Skill Shakti, which is it's totally non-judgmental, and they train children. He's not a child anymore. He's a young adult. He's 22 years old. And now he's come into his own because of the way they trained him and they taught him. So when you say the critical years are 2 to 6, I beg to differ, because I know that is where the major development of a child takes place. I agree with you there 100%. But there is, the brain has a plasticity, and neurons and they are constantly developing. So I would say there's no age limit to how you can change and develop, because it's never too late to learn. Now this child of mine, he's shining so much, he's doing so well, he's so self-confident, and I I thank the lady who started this. Her name is Sangeeta Advani, and this is homeschooling, because he had such a bad experience in school that he refused to go to school or college anymore. But so I am an advocate of homeschooling also, as long as our schools don't damage our children. So that's why I would like to be fully behind you, because I feel that this is the right path. They said you were the second most powerful lady after Hillary Clinton. That was at the peak when Hillary was so popular.
After Maya Shahani.
No, but I would like to add that Hillary Clinton, now she's no longer at her peak. So
that's right.
You're the most powerful lady, because you're going to focus on education, and education is the basis for our new world, because education is the right education is so important that we all have to fight for it. We have to start this movement. And as Neelu mentioned, I'm the founder trustee of Women's Movement for Peace and Prosperity. This was an initiative of the Times Foundation. Indu Jain, the chairperson of the Times Group, she felt that women are as equally good as men. There's nothing wrong with us women. And she said she had attended the UN Peace Conference in 2002, I think, many years ago. So her speech was one of the best speeches, because what she said was that give women a chance and non-violence will be the religion of the next millennium.
Correct.
So, and as you so rightly said, Leslie, that if we don't teach our children how to love, someone else will teach them how to hate. So it is in our hands, and our parents, we as parents, we are equally responsible. Knowingly or unknowingly, we damage our children in so many different ways. So we need the right tools, how to, handle our children in the right way, so that they become the right leaders for tomorrow's world. This pandemic has also taught us so many things, because we've learned that this world is not doing well at all, and we've gone into a lot of introspection, and deep insights are coming through, and we feel that now's the time to have a new beginning. And we come from a family of educationists. You met Akhil, my son, and you were absolutely delighted to meet him. Now, Akhil is a graduate of the Kellogg School of Management, and when he went abroad, he realized there's a difference in the methodologies. Of course, India has a lot to offer. We come from the genre of Nalanda and Takshashila. We had the Gurukul system of education, which unfortunately we forgot after the British rule. But then I think we should go back to that system, which focuses more on the emotional intelligence of a child. And I've always felt EQ is more important than IQ. This is something that we don't realize, but any person who has a greater EQ will always succeed in life. When I was young, my IQ was better than my EQ. So I didn't do well in my first interview, because I didn't know how to handle the situation. But as you grow older, you get wiser, and you come to a sense of balance. The equanimity comes in. Sorry.
Maya?
Yeah.
I'm mute.
Yes. Can you hear me? You can hear my pet dog also happily barking, because I think he agrees with what we are saying. I feel trees and animals and plants, they all have feelings, and they are better than us human beings. I can see Manjushri nodding her head away.
Yes, my guy is around here. He's listening to you.
Manjushri, I'm so happy to see you, because I remember when we had launched our Global Dialogue Foundation at KC College, your students had come on stage, and I was so amazed the way Manjushri students, they, on stage, they didn't show at all that they were different. They were so capable, and we were awed and stunned by how they came up with so many beautiful paintings on stage. And they presented these paintings one by one to the guests who they had started the Global Dialogue Foundation. Pesi Georgievsky, he's a person who started this in Melbourne, Australia. And he made me the vice chairperson of Global Dialogue Foundation, which is, we are working in collaboration with the United Nations. And Hanifa from the United Nations had come over to launch this movement in India. So Manjushri's children, they presented all of us with a painting. They were so delighted to get this painting, and I really treasure this painting of yours, Manjushri. You'd be happy to know that now it's housed in the building, which is earmarked as the Center for United Civilizations by Global Dialogue Foundation. Betsy had come to inaugurate this, and we put this in a special room which is dedicated to Global Dialogue Foundation. And whenever we have our meeting, we're going to see your painting, and I'm going to talk about your children and how they showed the world that they're special in so many different ways. They're really remarkable children. So thank you again so much.
Thank you so much. What a blessing. And I now see the power of the blessings that we are getting from all of this. It's been 5 years ago. That was 5 years ago.
5 years ago. Yes. But it's still fresh in my mind. And, so as I mentioned, we come from a family of educationists. So my father-in-law's father, his name was Thadumal. So Thadumal Shahani is a brand now, but this was more than 100 years ago. He had told his family that you have to give back to society. And the best way to give back is through education. So we've always believed in that. So education has been our career path. We have nothing else, but we are we are promoting quality education. And by quality education, I mean exactly what you said, Leslie, because that is where our path lies. And I'm glad you're meeting the education minister, and she being an alumnus of Bombay Teachers Training College, I'm sure she would agree to our way of thinking, and we can convince her. And the other way forward would be that if you're planning to go into the rural areas, I'm the vice chairperson of Bombay Mothers and Children Welfare Society. Rubero is a chairperson. And that village is doing extremely well. It's a cluster of villages, and it's part of the Clinton Global Initiative.
Yes.
You've heard of it?
But when I read it in your bio, I read your biography, of course, before today, and I read about that connection, yes.
No, that's a very interesting story, because my husband was invited by President Clinton to attend this event they had in Hong Kong. This was the first event they had outside of the States. So my husband was invited for that, but he didn't go because my husband is very focused on what he does. He said that he's a paper merchant, my husband. So he said, what do I have to do with President Clinton? He's not a paper merchant. So he actually threw the invite into the waste paper basket. And, but fortunately, Akhil saw him throwing it, and he wondered. It was a very, very elegant invite, and he picked it up to see what this was all about. And he rang me up immediately. He said, Mom, Daddy is throwing this into the waste paper bin. Would you like to go instead? And I jumped at the opportunity, and I said, of course, I'll go. And but they are very particular about who they invite. So when I wrote the application in my name, he said, they wrote back, Maya Shahani is not the same as Kishore Shahani. Who are you?
On the list.
They're really very.
We have time for a reciprocal story about the CGI, the Clinton Global Initiative. Manju.
Yes.
Banji, do we have time, just because I have a hilarious story to tell you?
Sure. Once Maya ma'am is done. Yes. Once Maya ma'am is done,
we share it now. I don't think this is a speech. This is an interactive session. So I'd love to hear.
We've ended up interacting during your speech.
No, I love it.
Because I can't help looking into your face, and you're just so warm and open and lovely that I'm just jumping in and talking to you. Forgive me. How can I do this in the midst of a crazy address?
Go ahead.
Let me tell you at the end. Oh no, let me tell it now, because it just complements. When I started Think Equal, in the first year, I was in New York. I spoke at the Women of the World conference. Tina Brown, who was editor of the New York Times, and we did this amazing conference. And on that same trip, I went into the Clinton Global Initiative office because I wanted to involve them. In fact, I went there saying, please, will you fund this important work? It's in its infancy. I need to raise funding. And the woman behind the desk, I can't even remember her name now, but this was only 5 years ago, but my brain only retains, the information I need to move forward, not going back. But lovely woman, she came up from behind her desk, came up to me, embraced me, and said, I've just seen you at the Women in the World Conference. I thought, fantastic, assured, we've got the money, we're gonna go forward. Tell me, I'm sorry, but Clinton Global Initiative raise funds, they don't give funds. I said, what? I thought a foundation, I was so, and I'd been a filmmaker, I knew nothing about this world of foundations, etc. So I said, okay, don't worry, this isn't only about money. I want you to invite me to your next Clinton Global Initiative meeting in New York, and to allow me to address the gathering and get them, to get excited about social emotional learning and this system change. She said, well, you can attend, you have to become a member. I said, okay, I'll become a member. She said, it does cost $10,000 to join. I said, what? I can't afford $10,000. Anyway, to cut a long story short, I think she felt so bad about, me going away from there so empty-handed after her embrace of saying, what you said was amazing. Yes, and then what? Nothing happened. So she felt so bad, I think, that she wrote me an email just inviting me, telling me I was on the list to come to the Global Initiative gathering. I came back to New York for that. I went to the gathering and I thought, does she mean I'm going to be given a spot to talk or what? Because she said, we want you to be part of the conversation. So I thought, oh, does that mean, remember, this was my first day of a new career as an activist in education. I'd never done it before, I knew nothing. And I thought, does that mean she wants me to talk, to be part of the conversation? And then at the panel, I'm waiting for them to call me. And then I thought, no, she didn't mean that at all. She meant I can ask questions at the end of the panel. On this panel is Dr. Urvashi Sani, whom I think you'll know. She's a major expert in empowering girls through education. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to show you. You didn't allow me to talk. I'm going to show you. You are not going to be able to stop me from talking. So I waited until the moderator said to the panel, and now we're going to have, and I knew the next word was going to be questions from the audience. And I went straight up with my hand. They came to me with a mic. I was the first one with a hand up before she'd even said it. I stood up and I made a speech of 8 minutes. And I just went on and on for 8 minutes. And then I thought, you know what? It's starting to get a little bit much now. I'd better. So I said, I'd like to thank all of you for your patience of just listening to me speak. I know that I was invited to ask a question, and I haven't yet asked my question, but I will now. My question is, Dr. Urvashi Sani, will you join our committee of experts for Think Equal? And she went, yes, I will. And that is how I recruited Dr. Urvashi Sani at the Clinton Global Initiative, because they didn't allow me to speak. I took the floor. Isn't that a funny story?
Yes, it is.
I couldn't resist, Mayaji.
No, it's interesting to know, because, when we were invited, we didn't have to pay anything. In fact, my husband threw the invite in the waste paper bin.
Exactly.
Experience altogether. But fortunately, I went. And of course, you're right. They don't give funds, they raise funds. I wonder what they do with the funds they raise.
Exactly.
But they must be picking and choosing the charities that they want to support.
Yes.
So they do send us constant mails also asking for funds, but so far I haven't given any funds to CGI. I haven't. But the benefit of being part of CGI is that a lot of people take interest and they like to showcase what you're doing, because I'm working on this. I'll tell you the project that we put up at the Clinton Global Initiative, which is why I mentioned this topic to you today, because this is going to involve you as well. The project we put up was to set up a model village which could be replicated in any part of the globe.
Amazing.
Amazing, isn't it? So,
Amazing.
yes. So we are working on that village, which is in Rajguru Nagar. As I mentioned, I'm the vice chairperson. Ribeiro is a chairperson. And our secretary is an excellent person called Dr. Madhav Sate, who's brought this village up from nothing to what it is now. If you ever come, are you in India or you're in UK, you mentioned, but whenever
in
you come
UK.
to India,
I used to come very, very often, yeah.
yes, but when the world goes back to normal, and if you do travel to India, I would love to take you to this village, because this village was absolutely nothing. And 5 years ago, I had taken Mike Hancock there. He's a person who started the conscious leadership movement. You could look him up on the net.
Yes.
So I'd taken him there to see this village, and the classroom was absolutely dark. There was no light there. So he said, "How's it there's no light here?" So they said that the electricity goes off. We hardly have any power supply, and the electricity goes off sometimes. So immediately he wrote out a check of 50,000 rupees for a generator, so that they had a continuous source of electricity. And they were so delighted and so happy that right away they started online classes. And for
Wow.
the first time, they gave online exams. And this was the first village that gave online exams. And this was covered in the papers. So the other corporates also came forward. We said we would like to help this village. So now the Tata Group has come forward to support this village. They are working very closely with the Tata Institute of Social Science, and they've donated a lot of funds here. So I'm sure if they hear about your movement, they would also be interested, and most probably they could fund it. Let's see how it goes ahead. And then there's another friend of mine, Tiamara Williams, who saw the tribal villages were so bad and so rudimentary. There was absolutely nothing at all. So she said she would like to make a transformation within 7 days to see how she could transform this tribal school. And within 7 days, I used to go every day with her. It was a 3-hour journey going and 3-hour journey coming back. But I used to do it every day, wake up early in the morning, come back late at night, and then again go. Now they have a staying arrangement also. So if any of our teachers would like to go there, they can be put up in a very comfortable environment. So we transformed this tribal village, and it was such a transformation. We painted the whole school. We gave them, there were no toilets at all. We constructed 3 toilets within that whole week. And the villagers initially, Leslie, when you go to the villages, you'll find that the villagers are very suspicious of what you're after. And they're quite hostile. They don't want you there. But then we made them realize that we had come for their good. So they then later on, they were so happy. They embraced us and they worked together with us. So little children and grown-up villagers, they join hands together. Like, that Hindi song, Saathi Haath Barana, Akela Thak Jayega. They all got together and they started constructing these toilets. And then for the first time, the girls used to go behind the bushes, and then they didn't have any footwear. So we bought slippers for them for the first time. It was snake infested, the area, and there was no water at all. But of course, we couldn't drill a well in that week's time. But then later on, Tiamara Williams, you could Google her also, Leslie. Tiamara Williams, Inspiring Lives Global. That's the organization she runs. She has this TV crew that goes about filming inspiring work. And then she shines the light on any organization that is doing this kind of work, any kind of work. It doesn't have to be villages or slums. It can be any field, and she tells the whole world about it. So, we are doing such wonderful work. So I've always believed in collaborations and collaborative effort. Global Dialogue Foundation also, I would love for you to be part of it. In fact, Dr. Balani, we must invite Leslie to be the chief guest for our event that we are having on the 14th of February. Leslie, if you're free on the 14th.
I'm open. Mera saubhagya hai.
So even before I told you what this is about, you're already in. That shows
100%.
How much in
Maya,
we are.
We've had a dialogue. I'm in. Whatever you need, I'm in.
Very good. So I'll very briefly tell you, because time is running out. I'll tell you this event is about Global Dialogue Foundation is all about having, embracing each other's cultures and communities, and even women empowerment. We have to accept each other the way we are, whether we are white or black or any religion. This is what you've been speaking about today. So it's only through love, understanding, and dialogue that we can reach out to each other. So we said that Valentine's Day is only for, it's not just for two people who love each other, it's for everyone, to communities and societies and cultures to love each other. So this is called the Unity in Diversity Global Festival of Love and Oneness. Manjushri, you should also come. All of you have called Bombay Teachers Training, and everyone who's listening to this, they're all invited. Dr. Balani, will you see to it that they're all invited? And we would request Leslie to be our chief speaker for that day. The slots are very limited. I think you'll just get about 5 minutes to speak because there's so much happening. But we would love to hear from you and so to share what you have in mind. So I'm sure we can all do a wonderful job together. So I think I've exceeded my time limit, and I would say 3 cheers to all of us.
And thank you for all you do, Mayaji. Thank you for what you and your whole family and the whole dynasty of Shahanis do.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bless you. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Maya ma'am. Thank you so much, Leslie ji. Thank you so much, Manjushri ma'am. I have shared the overall feedback form on Zoom and on YouTube for those who are watching us there live. I'm sure we are going to get a good feedback. However, if there are any suggestions, please do email to the email IDs that have been mentioned all these 6 days. Manjushri ma'am, Manavi, all of us, all of our emails are there. And you can also fill the Google form for any suggestions that you have for the events that we have organized, and also for any further event that you would like us to organize. Manjushri ma'am, is the program over? If with your permission, I can...
please, absolutely.
A final goodbye to everybody. Please do not wait for the link to be circulated in the morning at 9 o'clock. Done with our 6 days program.
A small request for any of you who haven't yet joined. So Leslie, a small development that happened yesterday was we did mention to them that we are looking, like you talked about the backpack, we told them we will be calling it self, because that's what we need to do. We need to drive ourselves. So we, on the spur of the moment, we've created a WhatsApp group. We've sent out a link and we already have some 55, 56 people who've joined that group because they're showing interest to be part of this army of barefoot soldiers who will come out and support our cause, our mission. So if you haven't yet joined, may I urge you to please join that and be part of this family. And we'll keep you in the loop, we'll keep you posted, and we'll keep you updated on all the goings on of Samantha in India, as well as, call out and give a shout out to all of you for help whenever we need it. Because we are very, very sure you will come for it. You will,
it's
come
going
ahead.
to be Manjushri. It's going to be an army of 199 women and Sandeep.
Yes.
Sandeep, are you with us today? Sandeep ji, mere dost.
Is he there?
Our enlightened man.
Yes, ma'am.
He's there.
Hello, Sandeep.
My God.
Namaste. Aap kaise hai ji?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Thank you so much. And I hope that very soon the single man, like today we, as you said, that 199 women with one man, but very soon, like so many innumerable men will be there with us to extend this SEL program to whole country. So I hope, like I keep my fingers crossed, and I will definitely work hard to include as many people, those who are connected with me. There are like 4 levels I generally consider. Like at my level, what can I do? And at second level, in my institution where I work, what can I do? And third thing, in the society, in the community in which I'm working, what can I do? And at the end, administration with which I'm working, definitely what can I do? I will think over it, I will reflect over it, and definitely come up with, like beautiful army from my region to support this cause. Thank you so much.
Sandeep, have you joined the group?
Yes, ma'am. Yesterday only I joined the group.
Yeah, and you have my Manavi's and my number, so which means we are now reachable. You can contact us anytime.
Yes, absolutely right.
Super.
Yes, absolutely
Wonderful.
right. Thank you.
Bless you all of you.
Bye-bye, and thank you so much for being here. Stay in touch. God bless.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Leslie ma'am. Thank you, Manjushri ma'am. Thank you, Neeru.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Being a part of this event. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Maya ma'am. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much
Thank you
for
so
being here.
much.
What a big support.
Thank you,
ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.
Thank you, ma'am.